Joshua Block represents a West Virginia middle school transgender student identified by the initials BPJ.
West Virginia's law treats BPJ differently from other girls on the basis of sex.
West Virginia's Solicitor General Michael Williams says the state is ensuring fairness for all student athletes.
Title IX permits sex-separated teams. It does so because biological sex matters in athletics in ways both obvious and undeniable.
Opinions in the two cases are expected by the summer. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
An Emmy award-winning actor is now in jail. Timothy Busfield turned himself in New Mexico, facing charges of child sexual abuse involving twin boys on the set of a TV show he was directing. Busfield denies the allegations, calling them lies. An actress whose movie's been #1 4 straight weeks is the new queen of the box office.
The strength of the ancestors is here.
Avatar Fire and Ash star Zoe Saldana is now officially the highest-grossing actor of all time, thanks to James Cameron's franchise. The Oscar winner has starred in the 3 highest-grossing films ever, Avatar, The Way of Water, and Avengers Endgame. She is also the first actress to appear in 4 movies that each earned more than $2 billion worldwide, including Avengers Infinity War. Saldana's films have now grossed a combined $15.47 billion globally, according to the numbers, putting her at the very top of the box office mountain. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stocks may drop again the day after the Dow plunged 398 points, but the Nasdaq only lost 24. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. On paper, the regime in Iran should represent everything that Western progressives reject. Women experience brutal oppression and are treated like chattel belonging to male family members. The economy centers on the nation's military-industrial complex, with the IRGC controlling 40% or more of the nation's economic output. Don't forget how the mullahs treat the LGBTQ community, religious minorities, indigenous peoples, and so on. And yet, the mainstream media waited nearly 2 weeks to report on the uprising in Iran. Progressive publications like The Nation, The New Republic, and Slate never mentioned it. The Golden Globes vented about Trump and ICE, but remained silent on Iran. Why the silence? As Yasha Monk wrote on Monday, the left's hatred of Western democracy makes Iran's theocratic tyrants their natural allies. Their silence is their expression of grief that true liberty may prevail in Tehran and vindicate Western values. I'm Ed Morrissey.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
Make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560, The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
If you're getting divorced, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Marcy, 38, homemaker, no income, with 3 kids under 10, recently filed for divorce. Marcy's soon-to-be ex needed the equity out of their marital home to purchase a new home, so Marcy called Team Hochberg after being told by other lenders she couldn't refinance until the divorce was final. Wrong. I helped Marcy refinance with her parents co-signing because she didn't have a job and wasn't receiving child or spousal support. Let's review. Marcy needed to refinance her soon-to-be ex off the mortgage and give him half the home's equity to buy a home and was told it couldn't be done. And I helped Marcy refinance. If you're getting divorced and want mortgage advice from a lender who can empathize with your situation, give us a call now at 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Larry Elder explains the origin of the problem.
What's the original sin here? Refusing to allow ICE to go into jails and prisons, so when these illegal aliens have served their time, they could be deported. Instead, they release them to the community, which means ICE then has to go into the community, with much greater risk, to extract them. Is anybody talking about that? What's the original sin here?
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
It's January 14th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. It's National Dress Up Your Pet Day. For many of us, our pets are family. So to show them your love, dress them up in people's clothes. Whether in a fireman's outfit or wearing a cape with goofy glasses, make sure to post a pic on social media. You'll love it, your pets will love it, and your friends will get a kick out of it. Also on this date, in 1943, President Franklin Roosevelt becomes the first president to travel by airplane, as he flew from Miami to Morocco to take part in the Casablanca Conference during World War II. And President Jimmy Carter proposed that Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday become a holiday in 1979. If it's your birthday today, you share it with
Don't call it a comeback.
hip-hop legend and actor LL Cool J, born in 1968, and actor Jason Bateman, born in 1969. I'm Tushar Saxena, and that's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Well, the experts did their best with this season's flu vaccine, but the virus mutated and the vaccine could not keep up. But here is the truth. The most powerful defense against viruses isn't something man-made. It is the God-given immune system that you were born with. And the best immune system booster that I, Scott Jennings, know of is Virago. Virago. It is a liquid immune enhancement supplement featuring 23 potent nutraceuticals working synergistically to enhance your immune system against assaults. Trust the design that God gave you and strengthen your body's immune system with Virago, the ultimate immune enhancement cocktail. Order it online today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirogo.com. Use coupon code Jennings to save 30%. Myvirago.com. Coupon code Jennings saves you 30%.
Finally, a truth that has too long been hidden comes into the light. Sexploited in America, featured on SalemNow.com, is a new 4-part docuseries exposing the dangerous and deadly world of sexual exploitation. And the enemy is using our sons and daughters as its victims. Presented by AGA Media, hear the truths revealed through the voices of survivors, parents, experts, and those fighting back. Watch today on SalemNow.com. That's SalemNow.com. SalemNow.com.
You know, daily stress is such a big deal. Fact is, the terrible impact of stress is very deadly and shortens our lives. Stress attracts diseases just like blood in the water attracts sharks. And for over 40 years on Chicago radio, we continue to share practical concepts from a natural healthcare perspective to help minimize your need for all those dangerous drugs and risky surgeries. So today, it's our dirt cheap adrenal stress index test. No blood, just spit. Now, most people don't do so well on their first go around signaling adrenal gland distress. And then they follow our stress-busting strategies and pass their second test with flying colors. So if you can spare a little spit, call for your dirt cheap adrenal stress index test, and we will hold that same special low price for your follow-up test. Just call 800-794-1855. You can't get any cheaper than dirt cheap. That's 800-794-1855.
Perhaps you're a collector. Or perhaps, all of a sudden, you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com. and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers. It's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
If you'd like a smartphone that's really smart, download the OnePlace.com app, the app that will inspire your faith daily and provide answers to the biggest questions of all. OnePlace lets you download your favorite pastor's programs and listen, even offline or in airplane mode, with easy connections to your Bluetooth speaker or dashboard. To download your free OnePlace app, visit the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store for your Android device and search for OnePlace. That's OnePlace.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Did you know a will alone does not keep your family out of court when you die? The court still has to approve your will, but get a living trust, and your estate can be settled clearly without issue. Talk to the attorneys at Nauman & Associates. They prepare wills and trusts for a flat fee, no surprises, no hourly rate. With decades of experience, they know the law and offer a free consultation. Contact Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village, nalawgroup.com. Call 847-593-8777.
As a local business owner, you get called every week by marketing companies. We get it. We have hundreds of satisfied customers. Here's what a satisfied client recently said.
Open enrollment is going great. We're hitting record numbers. Thank you so much for this report. It really is amazing to see how the marketing is really shaping our enrollment around the city.
Salem Surround. Is your business hard to find online? Meet with a digital marketer today for ideas that will make your business stand out. Visit salemsurround.com.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Trish Regan provides the analysis you need each day on the Trish Regan podcast.
The Democrats getting so desperate, first of all, had the quote-unquote seditious 6 with their video saying, oh, don't follow illegal orders. It was just kind of a weird thing to do, right? Because it's not like the president has done anything illegal, but they're trying to effectively sow chaos.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Don't get stuck with a cold shower this winter. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Old man winter is here. Don't get stuck in the cold, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this winter special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one, no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive winter special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit CenterGuardPlumbing.com.
Now, your official weather forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions as much colder air moves in, bringing a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, impacting travel speeds. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will remain cloudy and breezy with colder temperatures and a chance of a flurry reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. So yesterday, as we discussed a bit sort of in passing yesterday on the show, the Supreme Court took up arguments in a case involving legislative prohibitions of boys playing girls' sports in West Virginia and Idaho. Ketanji Brown Jackson and Neil Gorsuch center stage, although I think Alito stole the show, and we'll get to that. Ketanji Brown Jackson, KBJ, as she's known in legal circles, of course, was in the spotlight because she has been long wrestling with this great philosophical question, what is a woman? No one knows. To this point in the history of humanity, it's been unanswerable. At least they would have you believe. I mean, you remember, it wasn't that long ago, Marsha Blackburn querying KBJ in her confirmation hearing. It's just back in 2022.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in this context.
So
I'm not a biologist.
The meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide.
Well,
so I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
Not a biologist, so, I mean, who really can say what a woman is and what a woman is not? The mysteries. Fast forward to yesterday's oral arguments. And the ACLU, Ms. Barnett, representing the plaintiff in this case, she doesn't have any idea. And I'll tell you, she's going to take it one step further. She is not even going to venture into this area of trying to answer the age-old, unknowable question, what is a woman? This was her exchange with Alito.
Well, to pick up on the issue of discrimination on the basis of transgender status, let me go to some basics. Do you agree that a school may have separate teams for a category of students classified as boys and a category of students classified as girls?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition? For equal protection purposes, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court, and we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies in practice is to exclude birth-sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth-sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
I think here we just know that we basically know that that they've identified pursuant to their own statute, Lindsay qualifies as a birth-sex male, and she's being excluded categorically from the women's teams as the statute. So we're taking the statute's definitions as we find them, and we don't dispute them. We're just trying to figure out, do they create an equal protection problem?
All right.
Dissing Lindsay Hecox is the plaintiff in question. That's the Lindsay that she's referring to. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer, or just our answer line and text line, 312-642-5600, if you want to give us a call or a text. Alito sets her up very nicely. So schools have a right to have boys teams and girls teams. Yes. Well, that by necessity includes an understanding of what boys are and what girls are, thus the separation. And that doesn't run afoul of anti-discrimination law, right? Right. Okay, well, so what are they? No idea. Really? So, I mean, I guess for the purposes of the argument being made by those who have no idea what a woman is, if this is a definition that women feel comfortable with, a woman is not a man. We're going to define women in the negative. A woman is just not a man. And so, that leaves open all sorts of categories of, I guess, what could fall under the umbrella of womanhood. Comfortable with that? Isn't it fun to watch the left cannibalize themselves on this issue, as we have been watching for more than, for a long time, but with particular cultural impact in the last 10 years? All these second-wave feminists who've come out against this. You think you can just show up, call yourself a woman, and you're the same thing as I am? And, given the fights that we've had over special protected status and over provisions like Title IX and so forth, it's fun to watch the identitarians cannibalize each other, but that doesn't undermine the larger point that those second-wave feminists, the TERFs, as they're called by the LGBTQIA2S plus crowd, the Lavender Bund, they're right on this one, of course. And so I guess this is legal artfulness. I mean, that's one way to describe it. So we're just going to go with what the statutes say, and we're going to say the statutes don't accommodate our client and those similarly situated, and thus they've created a protected class of people who are discriminated against because they don't fall into that category. So the point is, if you have no definition of what a boy is and what a girl is, but you nonetheless concede the exclusion, the separation of the two is legitimate, well, then you're conceding the underlying point, unless you just say that somebody's sex, for the purposes of the sports they qualify to play in, is completely up to them at any given moment, and it can change. and we have people who get to make their own call in real time and change that call that they made. And, of course, we're zero focused on women's sports because how many girls identifying as boys are trying to break in to play football or to wrestle or any other, basketball, baseball, any other male sport? Pretty rare. I mean, certainly we've had the instance of girls wanting to go out for the football, like girls saying they're girls, go out to the football team. We've had girls kickers and girls in wrestling and so forth. I mean, and so, that's a sort of a separate conversation, but we weren't arguing about definitions. We knew it was a girl going out for the football team or a girl who wanted to wrestle against the boys. And part of, Title IX was this idea, well, we have a girl wants to wrestle, the sport of wrestling, but there is no girls wrestling team. So what do you do? And as an attorney for Alliance Defending Freedom discussed an op-ed she wrote on the topic, Title IX's efforts met with great success. Between 1972 and today, there has been a 1,000% increase in athletic opportunities for high school girls. The benefits extend beyond the playing field, opening doors for higher education through scholarships. Women make up 44% of college athletes and receive 41% of athletic scholarships, which is remarkable considering that women had negligible opportunities for athletic scholarships before Title IX, some 53, going on 54 years ago. And that's not to say that Title IX isn't without problems, and that this hasn't boomeranged on women a little bit too, as the distribution of men and women in college and the explosion of women's sports teams in addition to men has produced some unforeseen consequences of the Title IX remedy. But the underlying point here is right to exclude, right to say girls' sports are for girls, boys' sports are for boys. Like it has been, we know what girls are, we know what boys are, we go based on biology. It's not the assignment, this sort of nebulous assignment word that KBJ used when she was trying to provide some legal space for the plaintiffs in this case.
You have the overarching classification, everybody has to be play on the team that is the same as their sex at birth. But then you have a gender identity definition that is operating within that, meaning a distinction, meaning that for cisgender girls, they can play consistent with their gender identity. For transgender girls, they can't.
So I think that, okay. So as to the part about your ability to pass over from boy to girl,
yes,
you can go from one way but not the other. I want to be clear that BPJ is not challenging that specific classification. I think that's important to start with. But I think, if anything, that's useful evidence as to the lack of a transgender-based discrimination, because if the legislature were just sort of unsettled by the notion of transgender athletes, I think the answer would have been to then bar them from passing over anyone consistent with their gender.
I appreciate that. I guess I was getting at the what I understood the Chief Justice to be trying to discuss, which was this notion that this is really just about the definition of who we accept that you can separate boys and girls, and we are now looking at the definition of a girl, and we're saying only people who were girl assigned at birth qualify.
And
yes, you're getting there. That's what we're saying. As the plaintiff's counsel conceded, schools can legitimately separate boys and girls when it comes to sports. So it necessarily requires a definition, and that is the operative definition. That is the basis for the separation. And so someone pretending to be a girl doesn't qualify. It's pretty linear. Josh in Braidwood.
Hey, good morning. How you doing? And so last night I accidentally caught the interview on CNN. Don't ask me how it was an accident. Of the lawyer for PBJ, and I agree with you. The difference between a man and a woman is an X and a Y chromosome. This is not rocket science. It's not a big deal. But that kid, PBJ, I don't know what state she's from, but she's involved in this case. They started her on hormone therapy in 3rd and 4th grade, puberty blockers in 3rd grade. And I seen the images of the child who is still in school and totally looks like a girl. Like, if you didn't know that was a transgender kid, you'd have no idea. My question to everybody in the planet is, how does that child not have parents in prison by doing that to a child?
Yeah.
That's crazy. To me, that's crazy. Like, what are you doing to your kids?
Yeah, thanks for the call, Josh. Well, that's a whole separate conversation about the mutilation of children, which is why so many states have moved to ban trans procedures on minors. Greg, Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. I think the judges, well, obviously not Ketanji, but the other ones should have asked these attorneys, hey, in your life, when you were a kid, whatever, you filled out applications for anything and everything under the sun. And in many of these applications, you had to put a little check in a box, male or female. How did you determine that? And that's something that that Brown ought to be asked in addition to that. Although nowadays, of course, they've got 43 different things on there. Male, female, not a male, not a female, boy wanting to be girl, and so on.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Greg, because we've become so much more enlightened. Right. Mike Union.
Hey, Dan, this harkens back to Bill Clinton during his deposition when he twisted words like Justice Brown when asked what the definition of is. So I guess we could go back to the Clintons and say thank you very much for all these unclear things. What a joke, Dan. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike. Text from 847. This is good. This is a paraphrasing of Rene Descartes. I think I am a woman, therefore I am. I think I am. I think, therefore I am. I think I am a woman, therefore I am. I'm sure Descartes would sign on to that. Very good. 847. All right, now it's time to check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 41 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. President Donald Trump says his administration will end payments to sanctuary cities and states, including here in Chicago, on February 1st. Trump says the measure is necessary because he sees the sanctuary cities as protecting criminals. Violence continues to plague the city CTA train lines despite measures being implemented to help deter crime. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says while Chicago has seen a drop in crime rates, more work is needed to ensure our transportation system's safety. Officials have until mid-March to create a safety plan or potentially lose federal funding. And 2 teens are facing charges of sexual assault after they attacked a teenage girl in a bathroom at a local pharmacy. Authorities say 17-year-old James Patterson is being charged as an adult along with a 15-year-old boy. Prosecutors say they believe the victim was an acquaintance of those male suspects. This report is a service of People's Gas Energy Efficiency Program. The People's Gas Energy Efficiency Program provides energy-saving tips and rebates to help keep the warmth and savings in this winter. Visit peoplesgasdelivery.com/rebates because the warmest things in your house are the things that make home feel like home. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now...
Mike Gallagher sees it get political very quickly.
We've got a mile worth of receipts of Democrats demanding that Trump do what he did. Chuck Schumer rips Donald Trump for ending the Maduro regime after he previously ripped him for not ending the Maduro regime. You can't make this crap up.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it cripples your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about. If joint pain is holding you back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause. But you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing results. January is supposed to be your clean slate month, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more and tell them Dan Proft, that's me, sent you when you do. The number 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics to start the year right. 312-827-6261.
Don't miss cutting-edge coverage of daily news from an America First perspective on the Alex Marlow Podcast.
Paychecks are outpacing inflation. And this is actually the 5th straight quarter this has happened. We just had this monster growth under Trump, and that's not going to be touted by anyone other than us. It's going to be on Trump and others to try to point out bright spots in the economy.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
Start the new year off on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, or Wegmans.
Now, your official weather forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions, significantly colder with a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, causing travel delays. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will be cloudy and breezy, even colder with a flurry expected, reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Just thinking about the whole debate on girls' sports before the Supreme Court. It would have been fun, inappropriate, which is why I guess I'm not a member of the Supreme Court bar, or any bar for that matter. It would have been fun if, well, maybe we could have an aptitude test. Like if you can parallel park, and you're a woman, then you can play boys sports. Or we can borrow from As Good as It Gets. If you can demonstrate that you're more than just a man without any reason or accountability, then you can play girls sports. And I don't know, just spitballing here. Okay. Anyway, Scott Adams. I want to talk about him. Been meaning to talk about him since his post last week that his days were numbered and that he was persuaded by his Christian friends to accept Jesus Christ before his death. Now, it was, in Scott Adams' own words, the Pascal's Wager version of accepting Jesus Christ as his personal Savior. And we can get into that. But, of course, the sad news came yesterday that Scott Adams succumbed to prostate cancer, as he knew he was in his post last week. He penned a letter, his last letter, that was read face to camera by his ex-wife. And it talked about the books. Obviously, it talked about the Dilbert cartoon series, talks about the books that he had written, talked about the podcast that he had done in his later years. And this was sort of the final salvo from Scott Adams as read by his ex-wife. Take a listen.
I had an amazing life. I gave it everything I had. If I got any benefits from my work, I'm asking that you pay it forward as best as you can. That's the legacy I want. Be useful. And please know, I loved you all to the very end. Scott Adams.
312-642-5600. Give us a call or a text. The impact that Scott Adams had. Of course, I knew of his Dilbert cartoon series. I wouldn't say I was a regular consumer. But we were fortunate on this program to talk to Scott a number of times over the last 10 years when he sort of reburst onto the scene, because, of course, he was a known quantity because of the popularity and success of his cartoon strip. But when he reburst onto the scene and began talking about Trump's communication style and some of what he said and some of what he wrote, I was intrigued by, so we were able to talk to him a number of times. He was the Trump whisperer. Now, this is back in 2015 when nobody thought, very few people thought, I wouldn't say nobody, but very few people thought that Trump had a chance. It's hard to go back and think about Trump in that moment in the 2016 race. I mean, when it was framed versus Hillary Clinton, and you're talking about, around Labor Day, and people are really tuning in the last 2 months of the campaign as they do, and how the Republican Party was trying to figure out what to do with Trump. Some wanted him, before the grab them by the blank, people wanted him gone, that he was an albatross around the neck of the Republican Party, that he had no chance, he was going to take everybody down with him, and so on and so forth. It's like handling nitroglycerin. They just didn't know, and a lot of Republican, conditioned Republican voters didn't, and those who had great antipathy, understandably so, for Hillary Clinton, just didn't know what to make of him, how to handle him, what to do with him, how to conceive of him as president. And Scott Adams was out saying, literally, this is a piece from just before Labor Day, August of 2016, when he talked about Trump's third act is just about to begin. He created his own third act problem, his position on immigration. And Adams wrote, in the primaries, it sucked all the attention out of the room and galvanized his base. In the general election, immigration will turn into an unsolvable third act problem for Trump, as he planned. Once we recognize the movie form, we root for the hero automatically. We've been trained by Hollywood to do that. You can't turn it off. You can't turn it off in your mind. You can't ignore it. If a candidate can wrap his or her personal story into a 3-act form, that is the highest level of persuasion. The idea of the third act problem usually involves a character flaw of your hero. It's a problem that they specifically can't solve because of a character defect. They're afraid of something. They can't forgive. They've been a liar all their life until now. That's what makes it a good movie. We like to see people change in some positive way. That's what makes us feel good, because the real world we don't see it happen hardly ever. One of the big changes I've predicted that could make a difference is that Trump would soften his approach and make a direct appeal to the melting pot, which has happened. Trump reaching out directly to black voters in a speech about law and order in Wisconsin recently, softened his position on the so-called Muslim ban as a foreign policy speech recently. Adams pointed to these things. The way I would write this movie is I would have Trump losing because he is taking advice from the professionals. You'll see Trump pretending he is not going to change. But suppose he goes off script and it is nothing but interesting, and he doesn't insult anybody. And what if he overperforms at the first debate? I'd say he has a good chance at that. This is what makes a good movie. Movies are about people changing, whether they do in real life or not. It can't be the hurdle of all hurdles unless you have time running out, because we imagine that most things can be solved if you have enough time. But if the time is running out or it is the time that running. It is the time running out that makes it a third act. And now you have September coming up pretty quickly, in October. As I said, this was a couple weeks before Labor Day. The last 2 months of a long campaign. If there's a third act, it would have to happen in those last 2 months. And it did. This was part of our conversation with Scott Adams in one of the interviews we did, and most of them were more towards pre-Trump victory in 2016, and then in his first term. Scott Adams on Trump the Persuader.
Communication-wise, I noticed that Trump has the skills of a persuader. I'm a trained hypnotist, and I have a lot of the same tools that I see him using, and that's what I noticed last year. Now, I have no reason to think he's a trained hypnotist, but the tools of persuasion are pretty common to anybody who studies influence or anybody who wrote a book called The Art of the Deal. I mean, negotiating is just persuasion. So Trump is an expert persuader, and when I saw that last year, it looked to me like he was bringing a flamethrower to a stick fight. It didn't look like it was even going to be close in the end, and I think that's the way it's going to shape up. He does what he needs when he needs to do it. So you saw that when he was in a deep hole at about the time of the Democratic convention, he made his comments about the Khan family, which was a really clever persuasion trap set by the other side, by the way. He was in a deep hole, and he needed to prove that he cared about everybody, not just the people who were supporting him at the moment. And he started to do some outreach and went to some African-American churches and changed his style a little bit. And those changes registered with people. So it doesn't matter, what the facts were or what anybody said. If they see him talking to an African-American church, people's minds say, okay, we associate him with that. That's what we wanted. And on an emotional level, he feels more, has more empathy. It tends to be a lot of, we think something bad might happen because of this. The way he talks scares us. We think other countries won't take us seriously. We're worried that his ignoring of facts will cause a problem. We think that climate change will kill us all. So there's a whole bunch of, we're worried about stuff on the negative side, but actual real things on the positive side.
312-642-5600 is our call-in line, as well as our text line. The Trump whisperer, Scott Adams. Really an interesting, thoughtful, provocative guy. And so I really enjoyed, much more so than his Dilbert cartoon strip, his last decade as a commentator, not only on communication and distilling Trump's communication style and why it was as effective as Scott Adams predicted it would be, but also just offering some independent thinking about these policy debates. Now, of course, sometimes Scott Adams could have communicated better as well, but he didn't deserve some of these outrageous headlines in reaction to the news of his passing. People magazine, Scott Adams, disgraced Dilbert creator, dies at 68. Why was he disgraced? Because of this some controversial statements he made about white and black. And again, this wasn't the best communication style, or wasn't the best communication choices that he made in this moment. But you have to, context does matter. I know people use, but you took me out of context as sort of a way to try to wiggle off of saying something ignorant or intemperate. But it does matter here. But before I even get to that, I mean, honestly, disgraced cartoonist Scott Adams, that's how you summarize Scott Adams' life. They're such petty, small people. By the way, by contrast, I mean, there's a lot of contrast going around. People magazine, O.J. Simpson dead at 76 from cancer, family announces. straightforward with O.J. Simpson. No disgraced former Heisman Trophy winner, NFLer, because he murdered his ex-wife, allegedly. But so that's how they treat O.J. Simpson, and then Scott Adams gets the disgraced because he waded into the racial debate of the day in response to black separatists saying, all honkies are bad. We don't want anything to do with the honky, and the honky is an oppressor, and so on and so forth. So Scott Adams, the essentially thing he said is, look, I don't want anything to do with anybody who doesn't want anything to do with me. The framing, in terms of what he actually said verbatim, could have been better, but that was the point that he was making. And I think if you look at the body of Scott Adams' work over the course of his life, the suggestion that he was some kind of racist is absurd. But the left is absurd. They're absurd people. They're little people. They're petty people. And so even in death, if they get to take a shot at one of their opponents or invent a shot, take anything that was mischaracterized at the time, mischaracterize it again, and make that essentially the lead in your epitaph, then they will do that because that's the kind of people they are. And People magazine should be ashamed of themselves, but shame is not something that those on the left, very few it seems, is not an emotion they are familiar with, apparently. Mark in Oak Lawn, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking my call. Great show. 2015 Trump is interesting because during that debate with Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush, he really made some statements that were really brash. The one that I really enjoyed was when he talked about the Iraq War and how it was a big mistake, and he called Jeb Bush. He started getting a little personal with him. He said he was low energy, Jeb. But you think about it, Jeb Bush at the time had millions of dollars behind him. I mean, the backing of the Republican Party, they were all behind him. And now the Republican Party they've come clean a little bit, and, they're with Trump. But you know what, though? I still think there's a part of the Republican Party with the Bushes and the Cheneys, and, they want to get rid of Trump. They're jealous of him, or they're bought and paid for by some extent. But let's just keep the faith and hope that Trump can keep going forward. And I think what's interesting is that Trump admitted that the Iraq War was a mistake. Guys, even in the media, I see guys like Sean, what's his name on Fox, Hannity. He's still saying it was a good thing and we should have gone over there for democracy. And, we need to get rid of some of these people.
Thanks for the call, Mark. Text from 815. The real the sort of Scott Adams Trump whisperer moment, though, 815 points it out, the phrase clown genius, and that was a phrase that Adams used to describe Trump after the Rosie O'Donnell moment in response to Megyn Kelly. And it was those sorts of moments that I think Adams seized upon as saying, this guy is coming at people in a way that resonates because he's stripping away all the BS. And he's not afraid if you disagree with him or don't like him, unlike most politicians. And, of course, Adams picked up on that because his Dilbert cartoon series, now I preferred his longer form podcasts and interviews and commentaries, but that's what Dilbert was. Stripping away the BS. James Bovard, friend of the show, has a good piece in the New York Times about Adams, and he makes this point. His glorious BS radar deserves to be prominently displayed in the Smithsonian. No one had a sharper ear than Adams for contemporary American bloviating. And he gives a couple of examples from the Dilbert cartoon series. Adams left almost no Washington sacred cow unkicked. And he's giving examples of the Adams' work via Dilbert in this direction. Very much different art form, but very much like Dave Barry does and has for decades in his columns, perhaps most notably in his must-read year-end reviews. And that's where you cut through. And in politics, it's so exceedingly rare, as opposed to in the commentariat, where it's much more frequent. Not as talented as Dave Barry or Scott Adams, but it's much more frequent. But in politics, that sort of cutting through the BS is so exceedingly rare that it immediately had resonance. Joe, Naperville.
Yeah, I just wish that the simple question people would be asked is, how has your life changed since Trump has been in office? Don't listen to all these pundits and don't listen, well, I think this person is being persecuted because of Trump. How has it really affected you personally? And once you break that down and you ask people and be specific, it's amazing how much better their lives are under Trump.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Craig, Mount Greenwood.
Thanks, Dan, for taking the call. Hey, listen, on that point about when he made a profession of faith and all that, a lot of people just go, oh, well, maybe it wasn't real or this and that. The Bible teaches that if you believe in your heart that Jesus is the Savior, you'll be saved. Not because you said it, but because you really believe it. And there's a great example in the Bible when the one thief is making fun of Jesus, says, hey, if you're the Christ, why don't you come down off that cross? You saved others, save yourself. The other thief said to Jesus, I believe that you're the Son of God, Jesus. Jesus looked up at that one and said, today you'll be with me in paradise.
Thanks for the call, Craig. George, Naperville.
Yes, Dan, in defense of O.J., he did spend the rest of his life looking for the real killer.
Yeah, right. Yes, thank you for that impassioned defense of O.J., George. We have to get to what one of these anti-ICE open borders training sessions looks like. But I do want to pick up on Craig's comment and what we didn't get to yet with Adams, which is his 11th hour conversion. So we'll talk a little bit about that at 6:06 and get your calls and comments on that. It's now 6 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
It's been a week since the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, and the protests over Renee Good's death rage on.
Agents used flashbangs last night to deter protesters outside of the federal facility that ICE is using as a detention center. Protesters taunt officers day and night at this location, even launching fireworks at them. And when it turns violent, federal officers use crowd control tactics and take people into custody.
Fox's Matt Finn also reports from Minneapolis.
There were a number of sudden resignations inside the U.S. Attorney's office here, including Joe Thompson. He is the second man in charge here.
And the New York Times reports they were being pushed to investigate the widow of Renee Good. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, a Democrat, talked to Fox and Friends in an interview that'll air next hour.
Do you support abolishing ICE?
I do not support abolishing ICE.
But Frey has told agents to get the bleep out of his city, claiming their conduct is unconstitutional. Iran continues to crack down on protests with plans for fast trials and executions. A U.S. human rights group says more than 2,500 have been killed already. President Trump tells CBS News.
When they start killing thousands of people, and now you're telling me about hanging, we'll see how that works out for them. It's not going to work out good.
He's told protesters help is on its way, even considering military action. More than a week after the U.S. operation in Venezuela ousted leader Nicolas Maduro.
Fox confirms the release in Venezuela of at least 4 American citizens who'd been imprisoned under President Maduro's regime. The new interim government has been releasing prisoners as a peace gesture following Maduro's capture to face drug trafficking charges in the U.S.
Fox's Chris Foster. 2 actors are in trouble. Timothy Busfield jailed in New Mexico after turning himself in to face child sex charges he calls lies, denying allegations of abusing twin boys on the set of a TV show Busfield was directing. Kiefer Sutherland arrested in Los Angeles early Monday on suspicion of threatening the driver of a rideshare vehicle. America's listening to Fox News. 6
Good morning. It is 40 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The former chief grant accountability officer for the Illinois Department of Public Health is being held accountable for working a private job on the taxpayer dime. The Illinois Office of Executive Inspector General's latest newsletter highlights the case against the IDPHF chief accountability officer Vina Nelson for failing to disclose outside employment and conducting that employment while working for the state. Both Nelson and her supervisor were terminated before the investigation concluded. An Illinois Democratic state legislator says his colleagues should put their politics aside and support ending state taxes on tips. Greg Bishop reports.
Last week, Illinois House Speaker Emanuel Chris Welch said he's looking for unity in the Democratic Party when it comes to legislation.
If you can get to 60 Democrats in this caucus, that bill is going to go on the board. And it might slow things down a little bit, but I think that just makes things better.
Chicago Heights Democratic State Representative Anthony DeLuca knows the idea of no tax on tips is connected to President Donald Trump's campaign promise, but he's encouraging his caucus to put their partisan disdain aside.
For Democrats who would never consider supporting this because this was a President Trump-supported initiative, I would just say that former Vice President Kamala Harris campaigned on it and supported it as well.
The Illinois Senate is in this week. The House returns for 3 days next week. Spring session ends May 31st. I'm Greg Bishop.
And officials with the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office have ruled the death of a Chicago school teacher, Linda Brown, as a suicide. Officials say Brown's body was found in Lake Michigan, near where she was last seen walking on video. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
Alex Marlow explains his mission.
We're not going to play games here. We're not just going to court clicks. We're not just going to court shares. I'm going to give you the news. The news is what you're going to get in the show, and a deep analysis from great guests. What I'm trying to do here is try to save the country as best I can for my 4 children. I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this because I believe in America.
The Alex Marlow Show, weekdays at 11, right before Scott Jennings at noon on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way and affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything, but while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
Hey, folks, many of us grew up on these high-sugar cereals, Frosty Flakes, even Raisin Bran. You need to make the healthier switch to Grainberry, created by my dear friend Peter Harris and his father. It is lower in sugar. It's made with natural fiber, antioxidants, whole grain onyx sorghum, and that helps slow sugar absorption. Now, the taste will win you over, and you can pick up Grainberry Bran Flakes or any of their other great flavors. Make the switch. Grainberry, the official cereal of the Sean Hannity Show.
We've all heard the news. The flu virus has mutated again, and the vaccine just isn't as effective as they hoped. It leaves you wondering, how do you stay safe? But you have a powerful, God-given immune system But with all these viruses coming out right now, it needs a serious boost. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago. We have put together a powerhouse formula containing quercetin, fistin, resveratrol, and lactoferrin. We combine these specific nutraceuticals with 19 other nutrients because of their synergistic effect. They work together to supercharge your immune system, creating a defense that is stronger than any single ingredient alone. This is the boost your body needs to fight back. So take Virago and boost your immune system. Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha. Making America healthy again.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Already stop and go on Lakeshore Drive northbound between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue, but you are looking good on the Eden, 14 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy is in great shape at the moment, 7 minutes inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 8, 14 minutes in both directions on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. The Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 18 minutes, outbound is 15. The Dan Ryan from 95th to Burn Interchange, just 13 minutes. Outbound is 11. A little bit sluggish in the express lanes inbound between 33rd Street and the Stevenson. This report is a service of AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special member-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions, significantly colder with a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, causing travel delays. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will be cloudy and breezy, even colder with a flurry expected, reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We were talking about the untimely passing of Dilbert cartoonist Scott Adams. And not just his life's work, but the instruction to be gleaned from how he is being treated in death from the right and the left, as well as his own asserted 11th hour conversion, which has broader application. Text from 630, I hate to break it to you, and you're text from 630 was, you're losing your audience by talking about Scott Adams. I really don't care about Scott whoever. Okay. Well, I hate to break it to you, 630, but you're not the spokesman for my audience. You're entitled to your view. And he or she said, I tolerate your pompous attitude, but I do know you. To which I responded, does anyone really know anyone? You know, because I want to live down to the caricature of my critics, which I think Scott Adams was happy to do as well. To pillory them in a way that they are unused to being pilloried, which is why I had such an appreciation for him. But one of the things we didn't get to, and by the way, just to restate, that the treatment he is getting from People magazine, New York Times, Scott Adams, whose comic strip Dilbert was a sensation until he made racist comments on his podcast, has died at 68. Yes, the paragon of moral virtue that is the New York Times. And I mentioned the comments that he made that were framed in a poorly chosen way, I thought, and I said so at the time. However, It wasn't from a place of racism. It was a riff that he did saying it's okay to be white in response to polling that showed like a quarter of surveyed Black Americans said they were unsure or they disagreed that it was okay to be white. And he basically said, okay, well, get away from those people. That's a hate group. 25% of a population of 40 million people that think that it's not okay to be what you were born, then get away from them. I don't want anything to do with them, he said. It wasn't black people in general, and it was based on attitude. It wasn't based on skin color, but that was lost in his poor framing. But to take that and give it the same billing as his Dilbert cartoon strip, his successful books, the contribution he made to the national dialogue on politics and culture over the last decade, is to expose yourself as the venal little people that you are. And that's who the left is. Venal and small-minded and envious and committers of all of the other deadly sins while we're at it. As a feature, not a bug. Instructive. When President Trump passes away, the New York Times headline, first Nazi president dead. That's what I predict. Anything more generous than that will shock me. They're shameful people, and I don't want anything to do with them. What is interesting about talking to or hanging out, I don't care about their race or anything else, about people who behave this way, about people who have no charity, no grace. Speaking of grace, I did want to get to this. I was trying to get to it last week. We didn't. But there's still time. Scott Adams, that 11th hour conversion that got so much attention because, in part, it was a conversion. It was him being persuaded by his Christian friends. Number two, the nature of the conversion, as I said, was sort of the Pascal's wager version of this. The Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher and mathematician, basically said, from a pure cost-benefit analysis, it pays to believe in God because the upside is much bigger than the cost. And that's not exactly what we mean when we're talking about, a Saul of Tarsus kind of conversions. But this is what Scott Adams said. You can offer your own conclusion about this.
Whenever I talk about the simulation, and especially when I talk about my own impending death, many of my Christian friends and Christian followers say to me, Scott, you still have time. You should convert to Christianity. And I usually just let that sit because that's not an argument I want to have. I've not been a believer. But I also have respect for any Christian who goes out of their way to try to convert me. Because how would I believe you believe your own religion if you're not trying to convert me? So I have great respect for people who care enough that they want me to convert and then go out of their way to try to convince me. So you're going to hear for the first time today that it is my plan to convert. So I still have time, but my understanding is you're never too late. And on top of that, any skepticism I have about reality would certainly be instantly answered if I wake up in heaven. I do believe that the dominant Christian theory is that I would wake up in heaven if I have a good life. I don't necessarily have to, state something in advance. And so, to my Christian friends, yes, it's coming. So you don't need to talk me into it. I am now convinced that the risk-reward is completely smart. If it turns out that there's nothing there, I've lost nothing. but I've respected your wishes, and I like doing that. If it turns out there is something there, and the Christian model is the closest to it, I win. So with your permission, I promise you that I will convert.
312-642-5600 is the call-in line and the text line. So, I mean, again, I'm not sitting in judgment of whether or not Scott Adams had a real Christian conversion. It's and there have been a lot of commentators, including clergy, who've said, "Hey, look, he was in a lot better place at the end than he was previously when he didn't believe." And so, who am I to say what's in his heart? And if he truly repented and renunciated past wrongdoings and made a commitment to turn away from sin and put his faith in Jesus, even though he presents on his podcast it in a very transactional cost-benefit way, who am I to say? And I certainly hope that that's exactly what happened, and that he is enjoying his eternal reward in heaven. But I just thought it was interesting, and this is, again, to a credit to Scott Adams, that he was so open and transparent about this. And, he said, look, I'm getting a lot of feedback. Of course, he was getting feedback from subscribers and fans and people that were had his best interests at heart. And he said, so that this is now personal between me and Jesus Christ. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's fine. But it was instructive. In the end, he was doing the same things, which is adding value to the conversation that he had done his entire life in different art forms, cartoon strips to books to podcasts, which is to spark thought and dialogue. And, he's so room temperature. Happy to take the brickbats, happy to offer thanks and appreciation for those who contributed something. You heard from the part of the letter that his ex-wife read after his passing, and his final thought was essentially, I did my best to provide benefit. I hope you take whatever you got from me and pay that forward and provide benefit too. And he certainly did that. Significant benefit. Rick, Northwest Side, you're in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Morning. I haven't been a Catholic for a very long time. The one thing I still love about them is they have this private revelation from Sister Faustina. She claimed that the Lord told her before the final separation from the body, the Lord calls to the soul 3 times. And if they respond in any way, he takes them to himself. And that's a really nice idea. And it's not in the scriptures, but it doesn't contradict any that I know of. So I'm thinking Mr. Adams may have heard that voice. I hope he did. And I hope he responded to it.
Very good. Thanks for the call, Rick. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Too often, cremated remains are kept at home, then forgotten. At Queen of Heaven Cemetery in Hillside, we have your cremation options. Come visit our new cremation garden, see our beautiful granite columbariums, or view our elegant indoor glass front niches. These offer sacred, lasting ways to honor your loved one. If cremation is your choice, our memorialization is a forever option. Give them the dignity of a permanent resting place where they'll be remembered for generations. Visit us today, CatholicCemeteriesChicago.org.
Progressive knows there are 2 things RV owners love: to travel and relax. And they like to take both nice and slow. Just like this commercial. And what's more relaxing than the peace of mind knowing their RV is protected by Progressive? Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Appliance savings are happening now at the Home Depot with up to $1,000 off, plus up to an extra $500 off select appliances. Looking to upgrade your fridge? Check out LG's newest models serving up ice in all kinds of styles: cubed, crushed, craft ice, and now new mini craft ice straight from the dispenser. Shop savings and get up to $1,000 off, plus free delivery on select appliances like LG at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $999 or more. Offer valid January 8th through the 28th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Sheepdog, in theaters January 16th.
I just want to wake up in the morning and feel something.
U.S. Army veteran Calvin Cole confronts his past, and through the tough love and support of his community, finds the courage to rebuild.
Sometimes we gotta fall apart to find ourselves all over again.
Raw, real, and powerful, critics hail Sheepdog as one of the best films of the year, and The Charlie Kirk Show declares it a must-see film. See Sheepdog in theaters Friday, January 16th. Rated R, under 17, not admitted without parent.
My doctor told me my cholesterol is borderline, so I took control with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula. Garlic helps maintain healthy cholesterol safely and naturally. It's odor and taste-free, and Garlic is a world leader in garlic potency. I'm taking charge of my cholesterol with Garlic Healthy Cholesterol Formula, cholesterol's natural enemy.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The term natural references only the garlic in the product. Use as directed.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate, it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
We've all heard the news. The flu virus has mutated again. The vaccine just isn't as effective as they hoped. It leaves you wondering, what can you do? The answer is already inside you. You have a powerful, God-given immune system designed to protect you. It only needs a boost. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago. Virago harnesses the synergistic power of quercetin, fistin, and 21 other natural nutraceuticals. This unique blend actively boosts your immune system. It works in harmony with your body, creating a natural fortress against the viruses. So give your immune system a boost. Take Virago, the Immune Enhancement Cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. myvirago.com. Coupon code IMMUNE. Virago and Maha. Making America healthy again.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. At 6:36, we're going to talk about Ice Watcher volunteer training sessions. update some of what President Trump had to say about Renee Good as well. But to lead in, to tease that, if you will, I was struck by a sign over the weekend amid all of the protesting in what was formerly Minneapolis. I should be at home smoking weed and cleaning my house, but effing Nazis had to ruin my gosh darn, although that's not what's written, my gosh darn weekend. Gosh darn Nazis. She's real committed, though, to the cause.
I would rather be at home smoking weed.
Yes.
Yes.
But why can't you be smoking weed right now?
Because God Nazis. God Nazis.
Yes. And how long do you plan to be out here?
Oh, we're actually headed back to the car. Yeah.
Yeah, I am going to go smoke that weed now that I put it in my head and on cardboard. It reminded me of this wonderful bit from Arlington Heights' very own Sebastian Maniscalco.
No job? You got nowhere to be on a Monday at 8:30 in the morning? I never made a sign. Have you? I never wrote on a cardboard box my feelings. Stapled it to a stick, drove the stick somewhere. I marched around in a circle for 12 hours. Justice for Liz! Some of you are laughing at this, some of you are not. Listen, if you're laughing, you're on board. If you're not, you're the problem. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sebastian Maniscalco is right. Another good example of the problem, just for fun. This unhinged awful standing on the flatbed of a pickup truck with Ilhan Omar in tow. This awful, so hysterical, she was even making, you can see in them facial expressions if you've seen the video, she was even making Brotherly Love Spice uncomfortable, which is a feat. This is the awful, on the back of a flatbed truck, on the flatbed of a pickup truck on back there, that's moving through the crowd down the street, and she's on her Mr. Microphone with Brotherly Love Spice as her sidekick. It's really a scene.
Walls, grow some balls! Walls, grow some balls! Walls, grow some balls! El pueblo presente! El pueblo presente! He was taken by ICE just the other day! Somebody say shame! Shame! They murder when they ignore calls from people who really need them, and when they assist ICE! So to Jacob Fry, we say F*** you! You are not doing enough! Words are not enough! We need action now! Same goes to Tim Walz! You think it's gonna help anybody bringing the National Guard to Minnesota? No! Stop the war on the people!
So she'll be back to pick you up later. How bad is it in what was formerly Minneapolis? Per that awful, Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, those two soy boys, are the moderates. That's how bad it is. All right, coming up at 6:36. Where are the marches for Katie Abraham? Because we don't want people killed. Where are the marches for Katie Abraham? That's a question her dad Joe has. And as I mentioned, what a training session for these volunteer ICE disruptors sounds like. 6:36, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 35 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Joliet School District is set to vote on whether or not to fire a custodian who has been charged with child pornography. The suspect, who's identified as 23-year-old Jeremy Ledesma, has been on leave with the district since October. School officials say the man had passed all required state and FBI criminal background checks before he was hired by the district. A woman is recovering after she was shot in the mouth yesterday. According to reports, police were called to the 6700 block of South Crandon Avenue in the South Shore neighborhood, where they encountered the victim. The woman was transported to the University of Chicago Medical Center for treatment. And a former operations manager for a suburban Chicago medical center has been indicted in connection with an alleged fraud scheme. 42-year-old Brandon Getzloff of Carroll Stream has pleaded not guilty to 8 counts of wire fraud. Prosecutors say he used procurement credit cards from the medical center to purchase gift cards for himself. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Scott Jennings isn't impressed with the United Nations.
As well as thanking China and Russia for their support for holding of this meeting.
Okay, so Somalia is running a meeting. Colombia is thanking Russia and China for their support. This is the United Nations Security Council. You couldn't make this up. You couldn't make one of those Mad Libs this crazy if you tried.
The Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at noon, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer.
At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, dementia care isn't just what we do, it's all we do. We specialize in caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We're on the forefront of dementia care with a barrier-free, stress-free environment, so residents can explore safely and feel at home. But what truly sets Terra Vista apart? Personalized care. We take the time to learn each resident's story, where they lived, their routines, former careers, even the names of family members. Anyone who interacts with your loved one can immediately make them feel comfortable and understood. We meet our residents right where they are. Residents stay strong and engaged with multi-sensory activities, music, art, horticulture, our beautiful 18,000 square foot outdoor space, and even a personal trainer. At Terra Vista, residents aren't defined by their dementia. We honor the whole person. Speak to an advisor or schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you.
Making the switch to a new communications and IT company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs, meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run, a trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. We'll make the switch easier than you think. Let's talk. Call 800-654-1555 or visit accessoneInc.com. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still looking good on the Eden both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. Inbound is 15, outbound is 13. The Kennedy is 8 minutes in both directions between Montrose and the Byrne Interchange. A little bit sluggish on the inbound Tri-State heading towards the Eisenhower, and it's 14 minutes both ways on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the old post office. Inbound Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore is 17 minutes, outbound is 15. The Dan Ryan is 60 minutes inbound from 95th to the Byrne Interchange. Outbound is 11. The express lanes slow down beginning at 33rd Street to the Stevenson, and sluggish on the Bishop Ford inbound between 111th Street and the Dan Ryan. This report is a service of Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let data limits hold you back from being the gift master in the family group chat. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get real unlimited data on Verizon 5G network. Straight Talk available at straighttalk.com or Walmart. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions as much colder air moves in, bringing a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, impacting travel speeds. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will remain cloudy and breezy with colder temperatures and a chance of a flurry, reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. President Trump in Detroit yesterday visiting Ford plant there, addressing business executives about the auto industry and the larger economy. He also took time to conduct an interview with Tony Dokoupil from CBS. I don't really use, I'm head of my head now. I'm just going to call these outlets by their acronyms, CBS, NBC, ABC, and the like. I used to say CBS News, ABC News to distinguish it from like CBS Entertainment or NBC Entertainment. But that's really not accurate. It's just CBS. It's a political entertainment outlet, not really news. So I don't really want to talk about CBS News anymore because it's not news. It's political advocacy and, terrible sitcoms and dramas. So anyway, Trump talking to one of the flacks from CBS and was asked about the death of Renee Good, the woman in the ICE-involved shooting in what was formerly known as Minneapolis, of course, and the comments that he made that essentially concluded that it was a justified shooting because Renee Good had imperiled the physical safety / lives of ICE officers, particularly the one standing in front of her who she moved her vehicle toward. This is how that exchange went.
The death of Renee Nicole Good. I've been speaking to her father, who is a big supporter of yours, like many Americans are. But he's heartbroken right now. I can understand that. He's heartbroken because his daughter is dead. That's obvious. He's also heartbroken because your administration so quickly has come out and said she's a domestic terrorist. What do you want to say to her father right now?
Well, I want to say to the father that I love all of our people. They can be on the other side. As you say, he might be on my side.
He is on your side.
And I think that's great. And I do. I think it's great. And I would bet you that she, under normal circumstances, was a very solid, wonderful person. But, her actions were pretty tough. I've seen it many ways and many different shapes and forms. But the bottom line is, look, we have hundreds of thousands of murderers in our countries, killers. ICE is trying to get them out. They were let in through an open border policy of Sleepy Joe Biden. ICE is working very hard to get them out. Their job is being made very, very difficult. And, when you look at that tape, it can be viewed two ways, I guess. But when you look at the way that car was pulled away, there are a couple of versions of that tape that are very, very bad.
312-642-5600 is the call-in and text line if you want to give us a call or a text on that. All this, these protests and outrage over Renee Good's death, which is unfortunate. And as we said from the beginning this last week, this is the cause celeb that the left was looking for, and they're seizing upon it and trying to squeeze as much political utility out of it as they can until they discard her and move on to something that provides more political return. They're parasites in that way. They need to find vital hosts, suck the blood out, and move on to the next one. Bill Melugin caught up with the good congresswoman from Oregon, Congressman Dexter. You may remember her. We'll get to why in a moment. But this was about a similar incident, in a sense, in Portland that we talked about, where you had a vehicle weaponized. That's how it was similar. In this case, it was two reputed Tren de Aragua gangbangers in Portland illegally who used their vehicle as a weapon, drawing fire from ICE officers in response. They were shot. The two of them survived. But, of course, that led, as we played earlier in the week, to tears from the Portland police chief, wanting to make sure that no Latinos or members of the larger Portlandia community felt threatened by the fact that they identified the two assailants who attempted to harm or kill ICE officers with their vehicle as of Venezuelan extraction. That's not a commentary on Latinos generally. Why would Latinos think it's a commentary on them generally? You're talking about two illegal immigrants who committed a violent crime. If I'm a Latino, why would I think you're talking about me? You're talking about them. Tears from the police chief. So this is related. It's on point. Maxine Dexter, she's actually a doctor. Shocking. Pulmonologist. Bill Melugin from Fox News caught up to her to ask her about her antipathy in the direction of ICE and her characterization that somehow due process was not afforded those reputed Tren de Aragua illegal immigrants who attacked ICE officers with their car. What you're dealing with here.
Congresswoman, Bill Melugin with Fox News. Quick question. Why didn't you wait for any facts to come out on the Portland Border Patrol shooting before you put your statement out?
I did not make a statement about the...
You did. It's on Twitter.
No, I made a statement. I did not say anything about whether or not those folks were rightfully having...
You said ICE is terrorizing the community. It wasn't ICE, it was Border Patrol, and you said you wanted...
My question for you is, did they follow due process? And the answer is no. Those folks were shot before they had...
Those folks were two Venezuelan gang members who both local police
Allegedly.
And local police in Portland say they were.
I met with the police chief, and it is not that clear. So alleged is not due process.
So do you consider those alleged Tren de Aragua gang members to be your neighbors? You said we got to show up for our neighbors.
We have to show up for our community, and our community is feeling terrorized right now. They are outraged that people are being shot without having any detainment or due process in the court of law.
Did you see the photos DOJ put out of the Ram Border Patrol vehicle, almost totaled?
I have seen photos, sir, and I have nothing to say about these two people and whether or not they have criminal history or other things to be detained. That is not the issue. The issue is that we are not following due process. Our law enforcement should be accountable to the law.
Last question, we'll let you go. You called for an end to all immigration operations in Portland, all ICE operations. Do you still stand by that, given the fact that these do appear to be criminal, illegal alien gang members?
Again, sir, alleged is not being prosecuted in the court of law and having a jury find that that's true. If they have immigration violations, that will be dealt with by an immigration judge. I stand by ICE needing to be accountable to the law, and enforcement needs to be ceased until we can guarantee that there is accountability to the law. Thank you.
Here's just listening to that characterization by the good Representative Maxine Dexter. Here is what allegedly happened. Two suspected Tren de Aragua gang associates weaponized their vehicle against Border Patrol. I misstated it too, ICE. It was Border Patrol, not ICE. I said ICE. The agent took immediate action to defend himself and others by shooting back. The driver of the vehicle, who they know, they've got his name. He's a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela and suspected TDA, gangbanger. This is the Department of Homeland Security. They have the name. They know he's an illegal. So what Maxine Dexter is saying makes no sense. He entered in the U.S. illegally in 2028, was released into the country by the previous administration. He was arrested for DUI and authorized use of a vehicle. He had a final order of removal. What are you talking about, due process? They know who he is. They've got his rap sheet, and he has a final order of removal. And he wasn't afforded due process. And then he took a violent posture against Border Patrol agents. What are you talking about? This is the alternate reality. The passenger is a criminal illegal alien from Venezuela, also associated with TDA. She illegally entered the U.S. in 2023 near El Paso, was released by Biden. She has played an active role in a prostitution ring and was involved with a prior shooting in Portland. This was Border Patrol just, sizing up a Latino man and a Latino woman and rousting them. And then they got scared and they tried to run over these Border Patrol. That's not what happened. They knew who they were. They've got all the details on them. And they were attempting to bring them into custody, and they resisted arrest. Not that Renee Good has the same profile, but they resisted arrest like Renee Good did. Oh, and by the way, Renee Good's wife, she released a statement. We stopped to support our neighbors. We had whistles. They had guns. I mean, she said they were there to oppose ICE operations in her statement. And yet you have Adam Schiff saying wrong place, wrong time. Like she got hit with a stray bullet while just, driving to and from the grocery store. And yet the protests. Joe Abraham, who we have profiled on this show a number of times and will continue to, because lost in all this, of course, are the victims and the victims' families. Renee Good is a cause celeb. People have thrown in, the other day it was $1.5 million. I'm sure it's north of $2 million now to her family. Thankfully, I guess Bill Ackman sparked a GoFundMe for the ICE officer that shot and killed Renee Good, Ross. Ackman kicked in $10,000. I think that's north of $500,000 right now. And not that Joe Abraham is looking for the money, but it's more the recognition, and it's not just Katie Abraham, but all of these victims and the victims' families. He writes in a piece at Fox News, where was the outrage when my innocent 20-year-old daughter was killed by an illegal alien shielded and protected by Illinois sanctuary policies? Where were the stories about how the car Katie was riding in stopped at a red light, was struck from behind at nearly 80 miles an hour by a drunk driving illegal alien? Where was the outrage over how first responders had to pry the vehicle open like a tuna can to pull my daughter's lifeless body from the wreckage? The same media figures, politicians, and commentators expressing outrage over the Minneapolis shooting in Chicago, in Illinois, have nothing to say about Katie. Nothing. But they have a lot to say about Renee Good. Brandon Johnson, we stand in solidarity with the people of Minneapolis and with all those across the country whose lives have been torn apart due to the reckless actions by Trump's lawless, racist force. Those are Brandon Johnson's words. Pritzker says the same thing routinely, as a matter of course. And where are those saying we need to remove people in this country illegally who pose a public safety threat? They only even concede that point. They have to sort of accept that position because they know not accepting it is not sellable, but they never volunteer it. It's only the rare instance where somebody actually gets to them with that question. Oh, of course. Of course I don't want somebody who murdered somebody who has been convicted of a violent offense. Of course, and is in this country legal. No, of course, but that's not what Trump's doing. He's doing that. And then they, pivot and go back to their talking points. And why do, to Trump's statement about, I'm sure she was otherwise a good person, but she did some tough things. Tough things. She made some terrible errors in judgment on that day in question. And so how does somebody who, otherwise is a law-abiding person put herself in a situation and get worked up to put herself in that situation? How does she make a series of terrible decisions that ultimately cost her life? Well, it's been mentioned that there are these, there's training that goes on for volunteers, in quotes, that are out on the streets protesting ICE and, more to the point, attempting to impede law enforcement. They're attempting to disrupt federal law enforcement. That's what they're doing. Yes, there may be some dilettantes that are just there to blow their whistle and wave their sign, and they're not impeding. But there is an organized effort to impede. That's the point. And that's illegal, by the way, if you care about those things. This was a video from a training center that took place outside in Daley Plaza. Here. This is had to be back from pre-Operation Midway Blitz because the weather is nicer. But this is circulating online now, just to give you a sense of the cult-like nature of these organized disruptors.
Stay at least an arm's length away from an officer.
Stay at least an arm's length away from an officer.
If they tell you to back up, film yourself doing so.
If they tell you to back up, film yourself doing so.
Film horizontally.
Film horizontally.
Narrate what you're seeing in as much detail as possible.
Narrate what you're seeing in as much detail as possible.
Focus your filming on the agent's actions.
Focus your filming on the agent's actions.
Do not share footage publicly.
Do not share footage publicly.
Do not share footage publicly without permission of the person being detained or their family.
Without permission of the person being detained or their family.
There's a lot of critical thinkers in that crowd. Olivia Reingold writing in the Free Press. I joined ICE Watch. Everyday citizens are tasked with 5 a.m. patrol shifts, license plate tracking, and rapid response teams. It was just after noon on a Monday in Minneapolis, and dozens of anti-immigration and customs enforcement activists were on a joint call on Signal. A woman was describing a Nissan she'd been trailing on Hiawatha Avenue when a user named Chickpea interrupted. Folks at 35th and Park report that ICE hit a man with their vehicle, Chickpea said, breathless. In the background, I heard a cacophony of whistles, jeers, and sirens. Suddenly, 2 different signal chats lit up, notifying hundreds of members of a large ICE presence of at least 20 agents at East 35th Street and Park Avenue. Soon after, one ICE watcher called in to report that at least 200 observers had turned up to witness the scene. Yeah, let's not crowd that anymore, said a dispatcher going by the username John Longpants, instead directing the caller to 35th and Columbus. In the last 6 weeks, reports Reingold, Minneapolis has become the site of the largest immigration enforcement operation in U.S. history. Thousands of city residents have responded by joining various signal groups whose main purpose is to find and disrupt ICE. One of them was Renee Good, the 37-year-old mother of 3 who was shot and killed by an ICE officer last week. Activists in the region have grown more determined to thwart ICE. Thwart. Notice the description. Not protest. Thwart ICE. Christine Newman Ortiz, the head of Voces de la Frontera, a Milwaukee-based organization for immigrant rights, told me, in the last few days, she said hundreds of people have signed up to receive legal observer training, like you just heard. The majority of the people who are signing up are white and U.S. citizens of varied ages. Just say it. You know, Roffles. Rich, angry, white leftist females. Yes, we know. The Signal Network is one of the ways civilians in Minneapolis are taking matters into their own hands. Reingold writes, I've spent the last 3 days plugged in watching activists log hundreds of license plate numbers, share design files for 3D printed whistles, request the presence of legal observers at the scenes of ICE raids, and discuss whether a helicopter showing up on publicly available radars belong to a news station, pest control, or ICE. Some days members start their dispatch calls as early as 5 a.m. when volunteers begin patrolling the streets looking for tinted windows and masked men. These Minnesotans aren't backing down. Inside the Signal chats, members trade tips on how to build what they call a rapid response network. One step-by-step guide suggests dispatching volunteers to day labor hotspots, such as Home Depot parking lots, and to schools at pickup or drop-off hours, and corridors with high black and brown populations. The guide advises dividing ICE watchers into one of three roles: verifiers, patrols, and mobile communication, all overseen by an administrator who serves as the central coordinator and decision maker. And you have these organizations that are commenting on what's happening here that are involved in it, but we're supposed to believe this is all organic and volunteer, and this is galvanized by, independent moral indignation that's spread like a contagion throughout Minneapolis, like Chicago and elsewhere. Right. Thwart, disrupt, not protest. Deborah, Arlington Heights.
I think it's despicable that a political party would use people because they really don't care about them or their lives. And I'm stunned that many people are that ignorant that they can't figure out they're being used. And finally, respect law enforcement and don't interfere with them. It's like basic 101, like how to stay safe.
Thanks, Deborah. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you're over 40 and plan to retire someday, the window to protect what you've built may be smaller than you realize. As retirement moves from someday to on the horizon, protecting what you've built becomes just as important as growing it. And that's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. They help investors reduce risk by adding gold and silver to their portfolios. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com, noblegoldinvestments.com. Past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult with your tax or financial professional before making investment decisions.
AM 560. The Answer.
Oh, look at this. Who says corporate America is uncaring and unfeeling? I just got a text from my regional VP today, unbeknownst to me, my 11th anniversary with Salem. Huh. Happy anniversary to me. Thanks for the corporate note. Got 14 years to go for the gold watch. It is now 7 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
The anti-ICE protests rage on in Minneapolis. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A week after the ICE shooting that left Renee Good dead in her SUV.
Yeah, they are going to stand up for their neighbors.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, Democrat, tells Fox and Friends in an interview airing this hour.
What we are seeing time and time again is unconstitutional conduct by ICE.
Homeland Security maintains Renee Good interfered with ICE agents, then drove toward one. Several federal prosecutors have resigned, reportedly not wanting to investigate Good's widow.
We have two federal sources telling Fox that the Department of Justice is sending in additional federal attorneys right now into the Twin Cities, that these new attorneys are aligned with the Trump administration's agenda, that they are going to be very aggressive in terms of prosecuting anything related to immigration here.
Fox's Matt Finn in Minneapolis. President Trump reiterated on Truth Social this morning he'll cut off federal funding starting in February to sanctuary states and cities, that after saying in a speech in Detroit,
they do everything possible to protect criminals at the expense of American citizens.
Iran is readying trials and executions in the crackdown on protesters, and President Trump urges them to keep demonstrating.
I say make Iran great again. You know, it was a great country until these monsters came in and took it over.
The U.S. Human Rights Group says more than 2,500 protesters have been killed, 18,000 detained. The Supreme Court could rule today on tariffs, and if President Trump exceeded his authority, imposing them on imports from around the world. He wrote on Truth Social, "We are screwed if the ruling is against him. This as the court considers this controversial issue.
What does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
We do not have a definition for the court.
That was attorney Kathleen Hartnett's answer to Justice Samuel Alito. She represents a transgender athlete in Idaho as that state and West Virginia asked the Supreme Court to uphold their bans on trans athletes playing in girls' and women's sports. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 35 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. President Donald Trump says crime here in Chicago would go down virtually 100% if not for Governor J.B. Pritzker. Jim Talamonte has the story.
The president said his administration has removed many criminals from the United States.
We just had numbers from Chicago where Chicago crime has gone down pretty good. It could go down 100% virtually, but we're fighting with that governor who's so incompetent.
Pritzker spoke at Illinois State University Tuesday and was asked about potential changes to the Safety Act that ended cash bail in Illinois.
Well, I should start by saying the Safety Act has been highly effective. In fact, as you've seen since the Safety Act was passed, crime rates across the state of Illinois have gone down.
Chicago police are warning folks to be on alert following the attack of a woman in the Humboldt Park area. According to reports, a woman was sexually assaulted by a man who pushed her into an alleyway Monday afternoon in the 1400 block of North Lawndale Avenue. The suspect is described as a black male between 25 and 35 years old, wearing a gray sweater, dark pants, and a beanie. Anyone with information is asked to contact Area 5 detectives at 312-746-6554. And officials with the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office have ruled the death of a Chicago school teacher, Linda Brown, as a suicide. Officials say Brown's body was found in Lake Michigan, near where she was last seen walking on video. Mayor Brandon Johnson issued a statement on Brown's passing saying, quote, "I am deeply saddened by the news of Linda Brown's passing. As a special education teacher at Healy Elementary, she made an immeasurable impact on countless young lives and was a vital member of the Bridgeport community." This report is a service of the AM 560 mobile app. Listen to AM 560 on your smartphone or mobile device when you download the AM 560 mobile app at 560theanswer.com/mobile, or you can text the word app to 64636. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt explains our involvement in Venezuela.
They are not generating any revenue from their oil right now. They can't move it unless we allow it to move, because we have sanctions, because we're enforcing those sanctions.
They are running Venezuela through the leverage they have over the only thing that Venezuela has that can make currency for the police state that is largely still in power there after Maduro was taken to the United States.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Dan Proft here to tell you about our 2025 Food for the Poor campaign. If you've listened to this station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean. We all know about how bad the situation is in Latin America and the Caribbean right now. Economic decline, political instability and corruption, and high food prices. The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor and their partners who are providing life-saving food relief on the ground. But in order to get food and water to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your gift of just $150 can provide food and water for 2 children for an entire year. For a gift of $300, you can provide food and water for 4 children for an entire year. To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673. Or visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
Hey, folks, many of us grew up on these high-sugar cereals, Frosty Flakes, even Raisin Bran. You need to make the healthier switch to Grainberry, created by my dear friend Peter Harris and his father. It is lower in sugar. It's made with natural fiber, antioxidants, whole grain onyx sorghum, and that helps slow sugar absorption. Now, the taste will win you over. and you can pick up Grainberry bran flakes or any of their other great flavors. Make the switch. Grainberry, the official cereal of the Sean Hannity Show.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-909-4747. 800-909-4747. 800-909-4747.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hopberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore, 52 minutes. Outbound is 17. Now this is all because of a collision at Cicero Avenue, taking down 2 left lanes. Delays begin at Harlem Avenue. Jammed on the outbound Dan Ryan between 18th Street and the Stevenson with a crash at the Stevenson, blocking the right lane. On the inbound side, it's 22 minutes from 95th Street to the Byrne Interchange. The express lanes inbound slow down from 47th Street to the Stevenson on the inbound side. Stop and go northbound on a Tri-State as you head towards the Eisenhower. 23 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 16. No major slowdowns right now on the Kennedy or the Eden. This report is a service of the daily podcast of Chicago's Morning Answer and the Sean Thompson Show. Hear both shows with limited commercials when you subscribe for free to the daily podcast at 560theanswer.com/podcast. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Ride Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions as much colder air moves in, bringing a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, impacting travel speeds. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will remain cloudy and breezy with colder temperatures and a chance of a flurry reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We have a number of legal matters to go over. I mean, for those interested in the rule of law, not everybody is, as we've seen, I understand. I am. I think most of our listeners are. Jay Powell is the Fed chairman. Trump was less than complimentary in the direction of Jay Powell during his remarks to business leaders in Detroit yesterday.
In the Fed, we have a real stiff in the Fed, but that's for another day.
Yeah, real stiff in the Fed. Do we have a stiff and a potential felon as Fed chairman? Of course, relating to the DOJ subpoenas pertaining ostensibly to the $2.5 billion renovation of Fed digs in D.C. That occurred late last week, and Jay Powell issued this statement. This is in pertinent part in response to a DOJ investigation. It's the criminal variety because that's the investigations that DOJ does.
Good evening. On Friday, the Department of Justice served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas, threatening a criminal indictment related to my testimony before the Senate Banking Committee last June. That testimony concerned in part a multi-year project to renovate historic Federal Reserve office buildings. I have deep respect for the rule of law and for accountability in our democracy. No one, certainly not the chair of the Federal Reserve, is above the law. But this unprecedented action should be seen in the broader context of the administration's threats and ongoing pressure. This new threat is not about my testimony last June or about the renovation of the Federal Reserve buildings. It is not about Congress's oversight role. The Fed, through testimony and other public disclosures, made every effort to keep Congress informed about the renovation project. Those are pretexts. The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
For more on this and a whole range of other legal matters, pleased to be joined again by Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, that's Manhattan, contributing editor at National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks, as always, for being with us.
Dan, it's my pleasure.
So let's start with Jay Powell and this look-see into the $2.5 billion renovation, bumped up against what he had to say when he was testifying under oath before Congress. Your review of this review of Jay Powell?
Well, I mean, he's obviously right that it's pretextual. Yeah, the interesting thing is that if you go back to like the 1970s, the Justice Department and the executive branch in general never threw its enforcement muscles behind a congressional inquiry because Congress has lots of powers of its own. It can hold people in contempt. It can hold
like Bill Clinton.
More hearings. Bill Clinton and others, but that actually, I don't think the Clinton thing was, my recollection was that was out of Starr's investigation more than out of a congressional investigation.
No, I mean currently he's looking at that possibility.
Oh yeah, well that's well, we could talk about that, but let me just finish with Powell.
Yeah.
I think there were almost no such investigations until the Mueller probe began to politicize this. They basically were, scrubbing or scouring the earth to find anything they could charge against people like Roger Stone and other people around Trump. And one of the things they looked to was congressional testimony. But at least with respect to that, some people in Congress were asking for an investigation. Here, nobody in Congress is asking the Justice Department to investigate this. They've just, they've plucked it out because, Trump is trying to put pressure on the Fed to lower interest rates, even though, probably interest rates should be a little bit higher than the inflation rate. And it might be, the reason Powell and the rest of them haven't lowered the rates is they're not trying to switch Trump. They're basically, they don't want the economy to fall into inflation again. But that, they shouldn't be using the Justice Department for that kind of stuff. And I think no one is more upset about this than Bessent, because he had a plan for how they were going to ease Powell out of there and try to get Trump 2 picks on the Federal Reserve Board. And now it looks like that plan is up in smoke because they've made it acrimonious.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this many times, but it just seems to me this is erring on the wrong side of the ledger, where you're trying to affect some accountability against purveyors of lawfare. And I'm not saying Powell was one; obviously, he was in that position.
Yeah.
But the just as we've discussed before in the context of Comey and Letitia James and Schiff and so many of these bad actors. And if we can get Capone on tax evasion, then we'll take it. But you actually have to have the chops on the tax evasion claim. And, it seems like in some of these instances, you don't have the chops. And so that, and when you do that, you think maybe you're thinking the process is the punishment, at least we're getting this. But it further exacerbates people when they think, oh, well, they must have a case because they brought it. It doesn't go anywhere. And then they say, even when we bring a case, we can't get it done. And it sort of actually boomerangs on you and increases the frustration. People don't take away, oh, we got, our half a pound of flesh instead of a pound.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, the problem is that it's a cycle that feeds on itself, right?
Yeah.
So nobody ever says this is really self-defeating. Like every time we do this, we don't really have cases. With the Capone example, the best thing about doing that was that it was Capone. You actually had a murdering madman mobster And as bad as you think some of these political actors are, they're not Al Capone, right? So you don't really have the underlying reason to do this in the first place. But using the Justice Department as a political tool, no matter who does it, not only almost never works in terms of advancing the public interest. All it does is incentivize the other side that next time we get in charge, man, you are going to feel it. And you can already hear the Democrats saying that. So it's like an endless cycle.
I want to get your view on the arguments before the High Court yesterday, oral arguments in the boys playing girls sports case, these Idaho and West Virginia laws prohibiting boys from playing girls sports, challenged by the ACLU with their plaintiffs in the case. And this exchange between Alito and the ACLU lawyer representing the named plaintiff.
Well, to pick up on the issue of discrimination on the basis of transgender status, let me go to some basics. Do you agree that a school may have separate teams for a category of students classified as boys and a category of students classified as girls?
Yes, Your Honor.
If it does that, then is it not necessary for there to be, for equal protection purposes, if that is challenged under the Equal Protection Clause, an understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what is that definition? For equal protection purposes, what does it mean to be a boy or a girl or a man or a woman?
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. I think that the underlying enactment, whatever it was, the policy, the law, we'd have to have an understanding of how the state or the government was just understanding that term to figure out whether or not someone was excluded. We do not have a definition for the court. And we don't take issue with we're not disputing the definition here. What we're saying is that the way it applies in practice is to exclude birth sex males categorically from women's teams, and that there's a subset of those birth sex males where it doesn't make sense to do so according to the state's own interest.
Well, how can a court determine whether there's discrimination on the basis of sex without knowing what sex means for equal protection purposes?
I think here we just know we basically know that that they've identified pursuant to their own statute, Lindsay qualifies as a birth sex male, and she's being excluded categorically from the women's teams as the statute. So we're taking the statute's definitions as we find them, and we don't dispute them. We're just trying to figure out, do they create an equal protection problem?
All right.
So, Andy, the age-old philosophical question that remains unanswered, like what is consciousness? Why is there something rather than nothing? What is a woman? These questions persist.
Yes, I guess they do. Well, I guess I'm of two minds about this. First, I understand the lawyer's trying to argue a position. You can hear how tremulous her voice is when she's answering these questions because they're like the basic question, and she doesn't really have a good answer for it. But like the analogy I would make to you, Bears fans out there, is if we were going to make a rule that said a first down is 10 yards, and Justice Alito came and asked the head of the NFL referees, well, what's a yard? You guys have a definition of a yard? And they said, well, we haven't figured that out yet. We'll get to it. His point is you can't make a rule about a category unless you can define the category. It's like it's completely pointless.
A yard is whatever Caleb Williams says it is, Andy.
Well, it's nice to have a quarterback. I stay here from the New Jersey area. But I think the other thing that disturbed me about the argument writ large is I've always just been of a mind that once you think you have to add adjectives to basic terms, you've lost the argument. That it's just, basically at that point everything else is about details and how long it takes you to lose the argument. I thought that, like, for example, the marriage argument was over when they started to think you had to call it traditional marriage, as if there was because then you're saying there's other kinds implicitly. And looking at the transcript, I didn't listen to the argument, but looking at the transcript afterwards, I was very surprised to see Justice Barrett basically accept the terminology of the the trans activist. So she talked about boys who identify as girls, as trans girls. And at one point she talked about a cisgender male, I think. And I'm thinking, if I'm now a cis male instead of a male, then the argument's over. It may take a year, it may take 3 years, but once you start to think that you have to add adjectives in order to clarify basic terms that we all used to understand naturally, then I think you've lost.
And not to mention Neil Gorsuch in the Comstock case sort of provided a glide path to expanding the categories of protected classes when it came to identified. So I mean, what are you suggesting that this could go the way of invalidating the laws in West Virginia and Idaho and similar laws around the country?
I think what this court remains good at, even though the left, of course, distorts this, is that I've always said that, left, there's a big difference between left-wing judges and right-wing judges. Lefty judges, progressive judges, they figure out what the progressive result needs to be, and then they reason backwards whatever they have to do. So one day they'll be textualist, and the next day they'll be making it up as they go along. But they know what result. They want to give you progressive results. Originalist judges, conservative judges, what they want is the right part of the government or the right part of the society to make the decision. They don't give you conservative results. They give you kind of a conservative procedure consistent with what the understanding of our government is supposed to be. And what I think this court will do, as it's done in a lot of these cases, is not decide the substantive issue, but say the states get to do this, which means if the people of a state want to vote it one way, they can do it one way. If they want to do it the other way, fine. I don't think the court is deciding long-term societal trends. And what I'm interested in this particular is a long-term societal trend. And that's why I just think, having just watched this routine and watch how the left uses language for decades, this is how it starts. The minute that you think you understand something, but then they convince you that you need to modify it with an adjective so that we can clarify it. And that's always because they're trying to take something that's basically true and dismantle it.
Yeah, but the state, like I definitely see where you're getting at, and that makes sense. But as a framework, the problem is that framework really doesn't work because much like collegiate sports, even high school sports now cross state lines, and so you're still going to run into these same problems if you don't offer that definitional clarity that Alito was seeking.
I think that's right, but I also think, if you're asking me what I would rather see the court do, I would rather see them take on the main issue and decide it.
Yeah.
If you're asking me what this court is going to do, I think they elevate collegiality over deciding the main question. And if they can blur the lines a little bit to get a 7-2 decision rather than a 5-4 decision, that's what they'll do. And what they would say to you, Dan, is we'll wait for the next case for that one. We're just going to decide as narrowly as we can the one in front of us. And if the cross-state lines thing ends up being an issue, that'll be another case, and we'll deal with it when it comes.
I did want to get your take on the ICE-involved shooting in what was formerly known as Minneapolis, Renee Good. A local retired police lieutenant who's a friend of the show is a good example of what has surprised me a little bit. Some law enforcement, people on the center right that are inclined to be supportive of law enforcement, suggesting that the shooting of Renee Good was not a legitimate self-defense shoot. What our friend says to local news here is, I'm quoting him, retired Chicago police lieutenant, she first cuts her wheels to the right, and then when she backs up, it actually repositions her car, now facing him. He doesn't move that much. her moving the other way is what brings him dead center on the driver's side of the vehicle. And when that happens, it's all a split second. Normally, you wouldn't want to be standing in front of a vehicle. The vehicle backs up, and the front of her car realigns and repositions, and that's how he ends up where he is. Unfortunately, when you get rhetoric from Kristi Noem or from the president, when it sounds like this is an open and shut case, it's all a done deal, that affects the impacts on public trust. Well, I have to disagree with my friend, and this is why I want to get your adjudication of this disagreement. Because, at the end of the day, the bottom line question, regardless of, I'm not saying Renee Good is a domestic terrorist, and I think that was an unfortunate choice of words by Kristi Noem. But I am saying that her mens rea doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not that ICE officer had a reasonable fear for serious bodily harm or death, and he did, and she was facing him, and he had his gun trained on her, and then she moves the car in his direction. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I've said all along, I think that what people have to realize is that the narrow question here, and it really is very narrow, is whether he had a reasonable perception of imminent serious bodily injury or death. And he did. I think he did. And also layered on top of that is that the case law is going to give an agent or a police officer more leeway when the issue is an automobile that's moving as opposed to like an on-foot confrontation, because automobiles are inherently dangerous in that context, and many bad things have happened to agents and police officers in vehicle stops. So I think as a matter of law, he has what I would regard as an ironclad defense. Now, where I think the administration is going wrong is if there's a normal process by which, if agents are involved in agent-involved shootings, and especially if somebody dies, they do an investigation.
Yeah.
And I think they should go ahead and do what they do with the idea that the agent is going to be cleared. But the idea that they're not doing that, and at the same time, like they're investigating Good's partner, I mean, what's the point of that? That's just, moronic. And it just gets everybody more stoked up. This ought to be something that's handled by the book, and there should be no problem about having the state involved in the investigation if that's what they would normally do, because if the state tried to do something wild and crazy, like charge this guy with murder, they would easily be able to move the case into federal court, and then he'd have all his federal defenses, including immunity and the fact that the shoot was a righteous shoot. But I just think they ought to do it. But when somebody dies, you got to do it by the book.
Yeah, no, I agree. And more so, in terms of the trying to focus people's attention on what matters here legally, which you just did nicely, especially in the wake of arguments like, she was trying to leave. Well, she doesn't get to leave. When I get pulled over for speeding, I don't say, okay, I hear what you're saying, officer. I sped. I'm going to go now. That's not how it works. And everybody knows this, but we have like this suspension of disbelief, like she was just trying to leave. You have ICE officers issuing lawful orders. You got two on the driver's side. And so this guy comes around the passenger side in front of her to stop her from leaving because she's non-compliant. I mean, this is not like complicated.
No, it's not. In fact, I hate to point this out because I don't see the need to continue to pile on Good, but the left is making this necessary. So she committed the most serious grade of the crime of assault on a federal officer. I had a number of cases when I was a prosecutor back in the paleo age where I had a case involving a probation officer where all the guy did was clench his fist and make like he was going to hit him, but didn't hit him. That's assault because the statute says assault, intimidation, or interference. To make out assault, you don't need battery. And the statute has grades of seriousness. So the kind of crime I had was like a misdemeanor because nobody actually got hurt. If you do an assault on an officer with a dangerous or potentially lethal weapon, which a car is in this context, that's a 20-year felony. And she didn't just put him in fear. She actually struck him with the vehicle. Now, it was a swipe. I don't think he was seriously injured. But I think she actually assaulted the first officer, too, technically speaking. You know, the guy who was at the window on the driver's side of the car.
Yeah, she starts to pull away.
The cop is holding your window. Yeah, that's an assault. You know, if nothing had happened here, like she hadn't been shot, she had just been apprehended, she would have been indicted for assaulting 2 federal officers, and it would have been, I'm not saying she would have gotten 20 years if nothing else had happened and nobody had gotten seriously injured, but they would have charged her with a 20-year felony. So she doesn't get to leave. It was stupid for the administration people to talk about domestic terrorism because we actually, you know, let's not trivialize that. We have jihadists who drive cars on the street trying to mass murder people.
Right.
That's not what this is. But it was easily assault on federal officers. So you don't get to leave after you've committed a felony. I'm sorry.
Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, that's Manhattan, contributing editor, National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It is 32 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. 40-year-old Demetrius Thurman was in court yesterday. Thurman has been charged with the stabbing death of 37-year-old Dominique Paulien on the CTA Blue Line over the weekend. According to reports, that attack was caught on CTA surveillance as well as Thurman's own cell phone as he videoed the attack taking place. The victim was transported to Northwestern Memorial Hospital where he was pronounced dead. A Delta flight from Detroit to Chicago Midway landed safely after pilots noticed a crack in the windshield. The pilots requested emergency clearance to land at Midway. There were no injuries reported. And 2 teens are facing charges of sexual assault after they attacked a teenage girl in the bathroom at a local pharmacy, one of those teens videoing it. Authorities say 17-year-old James Patterson is being charged as an adult along with a 15-year-old boy. Prosecutors say they believe the victim was an acquaintance of the male suspects. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University and The Sean Thompson Show, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Alex Marlowe explains the latest job numbers.
The jobs creation numbers are a little disappointing relative to expectations, but the unexpected drop in the unemployment rate is surprising good news. Wages up 3.8, inflation up 2.8, so things are literally becoming more affordable. You want to talk about affordability? That's the raw data.
The Alex Marlowe Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Scott Jennings at noon on AM 560, The Answer.
Your company's IT needs used to be handled by a trusted local partner, but now they're a faceless nationwide service provider. Response times are slower, projects drag on, and you're stuck explaining your systems to new techs again and again. At Unique Computing Solutions, we've welcomed over 10 clients who are fed up with that exact experience. We're locally rooted, relationship-driven, and committed for the long haul. Get a free IT assessment today at uniquecomputing-solutions.com. That's uniquecomputing-solutions.com. Your IT challenges solved.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Lindell has a passion to help people get the best sleep of their life. He started by creating the best pillow ever, and right now he is passing the best prices to you when you use promo code LIBERTY. They want to thank you for your continued support by passing on some Christmas specials to our listeners. Get wholesale pricing on the classic My Pillows for $17.98. Transform any mattress with a My Mattress topper and save up to $100. Get a set of Giza sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $39.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Rest easy remembering that MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty. Call today, 800-489-0201, promo code LIBERTY.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way and affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Hello, this is Alistair Begg. In September of 2026, I'll be teaching the Bible as we cruise through the Norwegian fjords. I'd love for you to join me. Call 855-565-5519 or visit deeperfaithcruise.com.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Stop and go on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive as you head towards Hollywood Avenue, but getting better inbound on the Stevenson, 31 minutes from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. A crash at Cicero Avenue has been cleared away. Outbound is 16. The Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange is 23 minutes. Outbound is 11. We are slow northbound on the Tri-State as you head towards the Eisenhower. 32 minutes inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 18. Not too bad on the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 16 minutes. Outbound is 13. 20 minutes inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound is 23. This report is a service of People's Gas Energy Efficiency Program. The People's Gas Energy Efficiency Program provides energy-saving tips and rebates to help keep the warmth and savings in this winter. Visit peoplesgasdelivery.com/rebates because the warmest things in your house are the things that make home feel like home. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. But now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions, significantly colder with a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, causing travel delays. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will be cloudy and breezy, even colder with a flurry expected, reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas, Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, of course, and President Trump in Detroit visiting a Ford facility on the production floor with Ford Chairman Bill Ford. And this was part of their discussion about how things are going for Ford and the auto industry.
But so this plant, you might talk about it, this plant goes 24 hours around the clock. Before it used to go 3 hours around the clock.
No, it will. So we're adding a third shift, and it's going to be running, as the president said, 24 hours, 6 days a week. And that just shows the demand there is for this product, which is the best-selling product, as you all know, in America. And it just gets hotter and hotter. So we have a great relationship with the president and his whole staff. They've been great to work with for us. He personally is incredibly responsive every time we need something or call. We very much appreciate it. And we couldn't be more excited. We're adding market share. We're growing as a company. We're adding jobs, not just here but elsewhere. Times are good for us.
And all of the U.S. automakers.
It was all smiles, including Trump talking to CBS's Tony Dokoupil about jobs in the auto industry, including filling those 5,000 jobs for mechanics that need to be filled.
But they've got one not far from here. They just idled the electric vehicle plant.
Well, yeah, but it's going to gasoline vehicles.
Yeah, it's going to go to gasoline.
Well, but why don't you say that, Tony? You can't say.
You didn't give me a chance. I'm coming there. I'm coming around.
I agree. I said I want electric and I want gasoline and I want hybrids. I want everything. But you were going to be forced under the mandate to buy an electric car in a very short period of time. I didn't want that, and I ended that. Now people can have electric, they can have gasoline, they can have hybrid.
But are they going to have people to build these cars? The CEO of Ford said not long ago he's got 5,000 open mechanic jobs. He can't find people willing and able to build them.
That's a good thing, Tony. That means it's vibrant. You could also have things where you have so many people and they can't get jobs. It's true. We are doing so well, it's hard. Now, what's going to happen is people are being trained rapidly, and you're going to have a thing called robots. And robots are going to be a big factor. I predict that robots are going to be a big factor in the future, and it's going to help out. But
I think that's a pretty safe prediction, as the robots are working behind him, at least in part. It was all smiles about the auto industry and how things are going in terms of growth in our economy, except as it pertained to Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, who was characterized when Trump spoke to business leaders in Detroit thusly.
In the Fed, we have a real stiff in the Fed, but that's for another day. But they raise rates. So everyone says, oh, they announced great numbers. It's great, great, great. And the market goes down because they immediately raise rates. No. When the market goes up, they should lower rates. You want to see 20% and 25%? You want to see what we can do? We've got to go back to an old standard. When there's good news, the market should go up, not go down. Does that make sense to everybody? And that's the way it used to be for most of the time. That's the way you make a country great. But our growth potential is unlimited and could be much higher if we went back to sanity. We're not doing it anymore. We're talking about the head of the Fed, and I want somebody that when the market is doing great, interest rates can go down because our country becomes stronger. See, you view it differently. Our country becomes stronger, and therefore interest rates should go down, not up.
All right. So for more on all this, please be joined by economist Steve Moore, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity. Again, Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good to be with you. Thank you very much.
So your review of Trump's comments on the auto industry, the larger strength of the economy, and his running feud with the Fed.
There's a lot there. First, let me say something about Trump's visit to that Ford plant. When as you know, Dan, I grew up in Chicago, and I remember back in the early 70s, my parents, we loaded up in the station wagon, we drove to Detroit, and we went to the Kellogg's plant and the steel plants and the Ford plant, and I remember going to the old steel plants and that Ford plant and thinking, oh my God, those were like sweatshops. It was, people, these big bulky guys carrying steel beams, and they weren't the glitzy jobs that we romanticize about. And anyway,
yeah, you're like, I need to get an office job. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want one of those cushy jobs like being a radio talk show host.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But anyway, my point is that you look at that. I was just amazed looking at that factory, and I was like, boy, this is totally different from what a factory looked like 40 years ago. And it's a real tribute to productivity and to technology. So pretty soon we won't have anybody working at auto plants. It'll all be done by computers and robots. But look, the American economy is absolutely booming right now. This is a full-scale boom right now. We're seeing huge increases in GDP. The number came out, the first estimate, 5.3% for the fourth quarter, and that's with the government shutdown. So if we hadn't had the government shutdown, we would have been closer to 6%, which is off the charts. We're seeing nice gains in employment. We're seeing nice reductions in inflation. The budget deficit is going down. I mean, everything is headed in the right direction right now, which is weird because if you look at the public opinion polls, people are kind of a little bit sour on the economy, although the numbers are getting better in the last few weeks. So this is a really strong economy. And Trump is right that jobs, when people are working, that doesn't cause inflation. Growth does not cause inflation. Increasing in the supply of something reduces prices. It doesn't increase them. So Trump is right that the Fed, and it's not just Jerome Powell, this has been the Fed for 40 years, they believe in this old, what we call as economists, Phillips curve idea that, more people working, more growth causes more inflation, which is completely upside down. So I don't like this idea. I think Trump really stepped in it a little bit, his White House, when they said they were going to prosecute Jerome Powell. I do think Jerome Powell is the most incompetent, one of the most incompetent Fed chairmen we've ever had. I think he's a bad guy, political Fed chairman we've ever had, but he's not a criminal. And I think that was a overstep by the Trump administration.
Yeah, and the problem, of course, is, and the Wall Street Journal opined on this too, including with handy dandy charts, which is you still have this affordability issue because while inflation isn't rising, it's also not coming down, and wages aren't keeping up, and so at the macro level, you look at this, and there's a lot of people that you can say 5% GDP growth, but in terms of what they're feeling in terms of with respect to daily living and those necessities of daily living, they feel like they're running in place or falling a little bit behind still. Yeah.
Okay. But you are wrong, my friend. That's wrong. Actually, okay. we have the data. We have the data. We have access to this data before anyone else, and I can't explain how. But we just looked at the numbers for the last year. The average, household income, median, people in the exact center of the income spectrum, their income above inflation after taking into account the rising costs of food and energy and things like that, is up $2,500. It's a huge increase, one of the biggest increases ever. So what I'm telling you is there is a divide right now between perception and reality. There's more affordability. The middle class has never had more purchasing power than they have today, and so.
I mean, I just want to read from the Journal, and so you're telling me this is wrong. This is from the Journal editorial board.
Yeah.
The reason that people are not feeling better, they say, the reason is a bump in inflation in the summer months that erased the gains from wage increases. The earnings jump in March and May has given way to flat or negative growth in earnings. Monthly data for October and November aren't available because of the government shutdown, but average hourly earnings through December rose only 1.1% over the previous 12 years. And, of course, inflation has run hotter than that.
Yeah, no, that's wrong. And in fact, I'm going to have to call my friends over there because I work there, but they're behind on this. So the wage gains in September, October, November were huge. And so anyway, I mean, look, we don't have to argue about that. I'll show you the data the next time I get together.
Fine. I mean, I'm glad we get clarity. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'm not. Yeah.
But my point is simply this: that it is a very strong economy. It's going well. I hate some of the ideas. I just wrote a column on this that you got a booming economy, Mr. President. Just stop with the because there's too many bad ideas now coming out of the White House, Dan. I think you'd agree with me. The idea of putting credit card caps on interest rates. All that's going to do is mean lower income people aren't going to have access to credit cards. How about the stupid idea of $200 billion more lending by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac? Have they forgotten about what happened in 2008? Freddie and Fannie caused the crisis. This idea that institutional investors can't buy housing. These are just bad ideas, and it pains me because all the president has to do right now is nothing. Just stay out of the way. And that's because Trump did so many amazing things in the first year. We did 100 deregulations for every new regulation. We did the big, beautiful tax bill. We're producing more energy than ever before. Look, I'm just super optimistic about this year if Washington would just stop.
Well, so I'd be interested just to hear, I mean, what feedback you get from Trump or Trump's inner circle, Kevin Hassett and those people, you and Kudlow. I assume Kudlow and Laffer agree with you. I certainly do. I assume what kind of feedback do you get when you say, Mr. President, don't just do something, stand there? What does he say?
Exactly. Yeah.
What does he say?
In fact, what does who say?
The president. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, he's like a constant motion machine, and look, I love the guy, but he's trying to, and I admire that about him. I mean, and he goes literally 18 hours a day, et cetera, but sometimes, you just have to stop and let the policies sink in. I think we're at the beginning of a Reagan-style boom like we had in the mid-1980s, where you had literally 6% economic growth. Now, Larry and Arthur are saying we could get 6% growth. I don't think that's feasible. But I think we can get 3.5% to 4% growth, and that's really strong, and it helps. It is true, as John F. Kennedy said, that a rising tide lifts all boats, and it's not just the rich who are going to do better off. Hopefully it will be the middle class and lower-income people. But this idea of taking away people, of putting credit card caps on, what will happen, Dan, and you probably talked about this, is that people with low credit scores will lose their credit cards.
It's like a minimum wage. So it's like a minimum wage increase. You hurt the people you think you're helping.
Exactly. And by the way, who's going to be the big beneficiary of that? The loan sharks. Because if people can't get a credit card, then they're going to have to go to Guido down the street. And
payday loans and things like that.
If you don't pay your credit card expense on time, you're going to get hit with a 15% penalty. If you don't pay Guido back on time, he's going to break your legs.
Well, yeah. Or but I mean, seriously, or you have to go to a payday loan and you're charged 30%.
By the way, Elizabeth Warren, who's one of the people who talk, believe it or not, this is like a Twilight Zone episode. You know who talked Trump into this idea of
Pocahontas.
Elizabeth Warren. And so Elizabeth Warren is the same person who wants to get rid of payday loans. What are low-income people going to do? Where are they going to get credit? They can't get it from the credit card companies. They can't get it from the payday lenders. So they're going to have to go to loan sharks.
Well, or they can open a daycare center in Minneapolis. They could always do that.
That's exactly right. I don't know if you've seen the meme from the Breaking Bad. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
I sure did.
Oh, well, there's a very famous scene where they walk in the garage and he has like carts and carts and carts full of $100 bills, and he says, "And where'd you get all that money?" And then he says, "Oh, I opened a daycare center in Minnesota."
Okay. I mean, I wasn't expecting a Breaking Bad reference from Steve Moore. This is going to be fun. That's a high point to end on. Steve Moore.
There you go.
Economist Steve Moore, thank you as always for your insights. And, correcting the Journal today. We're really breaking news.
I'm going to have to give those guys a call and tell them they're wrong. All right.
Let's just get on it. All right. See you, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
82 million Americans rely on AM radio for news, sports, talk, and emergency alerts. But unless Congress acts now, AM could disappear from new cars. Tell lawmakers AM radio matters to you. Text AM to 39179 and urge Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act before it's too late.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Listen up. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it steals your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about, as I'm sure you have. If joint pain is holding you or someone you care about back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause. But you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who've been through the treatment. There are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing results. January is supposed to be your clean slate month, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more and tell them I sent you when you do. The number, 312-827-6261. 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Robert Anderson, president of McLaughlin Body Company in the Quad Cities, and a customer of Signature Bank. When our 100-year-old family-owned manufacturing company was looking for a new bank, we found an excellent partner with Signature Bank. Signature Bank understands the challenges with manufacturing in today's highly competitive environment. We recently participated in the New Markets Tax Credit Program and were fortunate to have the experts at Signature Bank help us navigate the complexities of this program. With Signature Bank's support, we were able to expand not only our facility, but ultimately our business. If you're looking for a trusted banking partner for your business, look to Chicago's own Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Making the switch to a new IT services and support company may seem like a big ordeal, but if you're not getting the reliable support, consistent internet, and secure solutions your company needs every working day, well, then meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts and proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer. These are the guys you want to talk to. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. They're local and in tune with Chicago businesses. So whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you and your business. Serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore, Access One is Chicago-owned and Chicago-run. A trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups, manufacturers, and many other businesses. They'll make the switch for you easier than you think, but you have to call them today to discuss your business needs and tell them I sent you when you do. The number, 1-800-654-1555. That's 1-800-654-1555, or visit access1inc.com. That website again, Access One, spell the number, O-N-E, access1inc.com. Access One, tech made personal, locally.
Ah, the most beautiful time of year is upon us. Tax season. And TaxSlayer is here to help you file with 100% accuracy for your maximum refund. Guaranteed. TaxSlayer even has support from real U.S.-based humans if you have any questions along the way. File your federal return by February 8th for $22.99, and I'll help you get the refund you deserve. Take it from me, a talking calculator speaking to you through the speakers of wherever you are. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super-fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
AM 560, The Answer.
2-year-old Maggie from Geneva, she's got Bears fever. Take a listen.
Now, Chicago Bears, get to know why you're wearing the crown. You're the pride and joy of Illinois. Chicago Bears, bear down.
It's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well done, Maggie. That was sent to us by her grandmother. We appreciate that. All right. We'll talk perhaps a little football and a little politics. Scott McKay, 8:08. It's now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND.
Iran is getting ready to crack down on protests even harder. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Planning fast trials and executions. President Trump tells CBS News.
We will take very strong action. If they do such a thing, we will take very strong action.
After also telling Iranian protesters, keep demonstrating and help is on the way.
The 26-year-old protester is reportedly scheduled to be hanged today by the Iranian regime who accuses him of crimes against God.
Fox's Lucas Tomlinson at the White House.
For more than 2 weeks, protests have been growing inside Iran. A human rights group says more than 2,000 people have been killed.
President Trump keeps pushing to take over Greenland, posting on Truth Social this morning the U.S. needs it for national security, adding NATO becomes more formidable if we control Greenland. It's now part of Denmark, and foreign ministers from both will hold talks today with Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Greenland is currently an autonomous part of Denmark, and Greenland's prime minister said alongside the Danish prime minister Tuesday they face a geopolitical crisis, and if they have to choose between the U.S. and Denmark, they choose Denmark.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. More than a week after the U.S. operation capturing Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, Venezuela keeps releasing political prisoners. 4 of them are Americans. Now to Minneapolis. Anti-ICE protests keep raging, clashing with federal agents, angry over last week's shooting death they call murder. Some federal prosecutors have resigned in the investigation into Renee Good's death. Homeland Security maintains she interfered with ICE operations and drove toward an officer. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, a Democrat, tells Fox and Friends ICE is acting unconstitutionally, not just going after criminal illegal aliens.
A lot of the people that ICE is picking up right now in our city are not a problem for Minneapolis. They've opened businesses. They've been here for longer than I've been here. They contribute so beautiful and greatly to our city.
It's up to at least 32 people dead in a railroad disaster in Thailand. A crane crashed down on a passenger train that went off the rails. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It is 32 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Governor J.B. Pritzker says the state will not be building a stadium for the Chicago Bears. Jim Talamonte has the story.
Pritzker spoke to reporters in Normal Tuesday and said building a stadium is about what's best for the taxpayers.
We're not going to build a stadium for the Chicago Bears. But again, they're a private business. We have offered to do a number of things, still talking, as we always do, with the Bears.
Former State Rep Mark Batnick told the Center Square that Indiana's tax structure may attract the Bears.
They may be able to work within their something that's closer to their regular tax structure and not necessarily give away the store, kind of like they did in Kansas City, to lure the Bears across the state line.
The Joliet School District is set to vote on whether to fire a custodian who's been charged with child pornography. The suspect, identified as 23-year-old Jeremy Ledesma, has been on leave from the district since October. Officials say the man passed all required state and FBI criminal background checks before he was hired by the district. Chicago police are warning folks to be on alert following the attack of a woman in the Humboldt Park area. According to reports, that woman was sexually assaulted by a man who pushed her into an alleyway Monday afternoon in the 1400 block of North Lawndale Avenue. The suspect is described as a black male between 25 and 35 years old. He was wearing a gray sweater, dark pants, and a beanie. Anyone with information is asked to contact Area 5 detectives at 312-746-6554. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Bank of America is reporting a better-than-expected quarter boosted by interest income. It bought back more than $6 billion in stock in the recent quarter. CEO Brian Moynihan says he is bullish on the U.S. economy for this year. Wells Fargo's profit increased 6% in the period. It was helped by higher loan balances. However, Wall Street was expecting even stronger numbers from Wells Fargo, and the stock is lower. Bloomberg says Netflix is preparing to make an all-cash offer for Warner Brothers Discovery Studios and streaming business Paramount Skydance is in a heated battle for the business. And as expected, Saks Global has filed for bankruptcy reorganization. The company includes Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf Goodman, and Saks Off Fifth. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola. Invested in you.
Mike Gallagher would like some clarification.
We are not asking ICE not to do ICE things. We are asking this federal government to stop the unconstitutional conduct that is invading our streets each and every day.
What does that mean? Because the average anti-ICE protester doesn't want even the existence of these ICE officers in their streets.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Alex Marlowe at 11 on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie.
My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
You know, nothing beats the comfort of a perfectly heated home.
And when it comes to heating your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country. Beautiful people.
Air Right Heating and Cooling is fast. When your furnace breaks down, they'll fix it right away.
Just like that. Big time results. No waiting around. You get the job done right. And let's face it, who doesn't love being warm, right? It's beautiful. When it's freezing, I crank up that amazing furnace. Burn, baby, burn. Trust me, you'll say, wow, I've never felt this warm in my life.
If you like keeping your hard-earned money, then contact Air Right Heating and Cooling. Tell them AM 560 sent you, and right now you'll receive $56 off any service.
Unbelievable.
Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right Heating and Cooling. Doing it right since 1959.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela! Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
Hey, folks, many of us grew up on these high-sugar cereals, Frosty Flakes, even Raisin Bran. You need to make the healthier switch to Grainberry, created by my dear friend Peter Harris and his father. It is lower in sugar. It's made with natural fiber, antioxidants, whole grain onyx sorghum, and that helps slow sugar absorption. Now, the taste will win you over, and you can pick up Grainberry Bran Flakes or any of their other great flavors. Make the switch. Grainberry, the official cereal of the Sean Hannity Show.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Stop and go on Lakeshore Drive northbound between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. 52 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 22. You've got 38 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 14 with a crash on the exit ramp to 47th Street. And stop and go on the express lanes inbound between Garfield Boulevard and the Stevenson. Inbound Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 57 minutes. Outbound is 32. 33 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 36. The express lanes inbound are jammed heading into Ohio Street. 25 minutes inbound on the Eden from Lake Cook to Montrose. Outbound is 34. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special members-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions as much colder air moves in, bringing a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, impacting travel speeds. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will remain cloudy and breezy with colder temperatures and a chance of a flurry reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Articles of impeachment have been filed against Field Marshal Tim, the governor for now of Minnesota. 4 articles. knowingly concealing widespread fraud despite repeated warnings and audits. There is allegedly evidence that whistleblowers notified the governor, the governor's office, and there was willful blindness, knowing blindness. Article 1 of the impeachment articles, knowingly concealing widespread fraud despite repeated warnings and audits. Interfering with lawful oversight of investigators into state agency fraud, which is in part what was alleged by those nearly 200 state workers who signed the open letter to Walz back before the first of the year, basically contending that that's exactly what the governor's office did, that there were whistleblowers who were sidelined or intimidated into silence, that people saw some of what was going on, tried to level it up, and they were turned away. Article 3, prioritizing political narratives over disclosing known program failures. And Article 4, failing to faithfully execute laws protecting public funds, allowing safeguards to be ignored or weakened. Trying to get a handle on the scope of all this, not just in Minneapolis, formerly known as Minneapolis. Now I think it's more accepted to say Mogadishu, Minnesota, the entire state of Minnesota, but the entire country. Just Minnesota, to give you a sense of this. This is sort of new information bubbling to the surface with each passing day. TSA data reveal nearly $700 million in declared U.S. cash flagged in luggage by Somali couriers departing Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Speaking of willful blindness or active concealment, the Biden White House told TSA to stand down. And we've heard this from TSA whistleblowers interviewed by Liz Collin up there. She saw this for years, and she estimated it to be in the tens, if not hundreds of millions. But this is TSA. TSA flagged $692 million between 2024 and 2025 in declared U.S. currency detected in passengers' luggage departing from Minneapolis-St. Paul. $1 million a day, roughly, over 2 years. That's John Solomon, the editor-in-chief of Just the News, reporting on that. $700 million just there, going, the suggestions made, among others, getting moved through Abu Dhabi and then maybe back to Somalia. Finance preferred warlords or the campaigns of aspiring warlords that are back home running daycare centers. And the scope of this in the larger context, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, of course, recently sat down with Chris Rufo over at the Manhattan Institute and estimated that about 10% of the federal budget is frauded every year. U.S. Government Accountability Office reported in 2024 the federal government loses between $233 billion and $521 billion annually to fraud. That's based on data between 2018 and 2022. That was a report in 2024. That's probably going to be revised upward, certainly in subsequent years. Between 233 and 521 billion annually to fraud. Just to give some perspective, the state budget of California, our most populous state, of course, $350 billion. And you're talking about upwards of $500 billion is lost annually to fraud and being perhaps distributed to America's enemies, at least in part. It's astounding. And we're just now scratching the surface because, of course, as we've talked about, regimes in California and Illinois and New York, for example, are less than transparent, less than forthcoming, less than even responsive. You shouldn't have to find out where the government is spending money or where the government is being frauded. They should be telling us. But, of course, that's not how it's practiced or reported in places like New York and California and Illinois and Minnesota and Maine and Massachusetts and Washington State. For more on all this and other topics, pleased to be joined by Scott McKay. He's the publisher of The Hayride, hayride.com, senior editor at The American Spectator, and author of the brand new novel Blockbusters, which is available at Amazon. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Good to talk to you again. And so, what's your take on the staying power of the fraud stories as, the pictures in some places are getting clearer with each passing day while, we're still digging in other places like some of the states I mentioned?
Well, I think that we can fairly say the rage and protesting and general hullabaloo that the left launched after this Renee Good spectacle on Wednesday of last week was a distraction aimed at taking people's eyes off of the Somali fraud. I mean, those numbers, I think, from 2024 are probably low. I think you're probably getting close to $1 trillion by the time you've counted up all the fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And the Somali piece is a small part of that, but it's just it's the most golden piece of it, right? Like here is an entire community full of people that nobody thinks should even be here. 81% of them are attached to the welfare system. And, everybody thinks the Somalis are like the dim bulbs, but yet they've mastered the ability to steal from the system. And, what that says is anybody can steal from the system. Like the system is built to be stolen from. And so that is the one piece of all this that I think brings the whole thing down ultimately when people say, we don't need a system that steals our money as effectively as this one does. Let's have a new system. And I think if Republicans are smart, that's what they run on this year in advance of the midterms because it's a winning issue.
Well, this is why Trump is moving to stop payments to sanctuary states as of Feb 1. He announced yesterday he's ending temporary protected status for Somalis residing in the United States, but that at this point, that only ends up being a little fewer than 2,500 because this has been going on for generations.
The horses are out of the barn at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, but he's taking concrete actions that he can point to that keep this issue front and center, and also communicate that he is doing what is in his power to do.
Right. Yeah, and as he does these things, they will generate unmarriable white women in the streets trying to secure the same fate as Renee Good, which is a separate issue that I think most Americans are getting really tired of. I think as of today, there's more backlash than there is sympathy about, once people have started finding out that the left is organizing and training an army full of, doughy, angry lesbians and fellow travelers to throw their cars in front of ICE officers. Like people are like, that can't possibly be real. And then they find out that it is. And it touches all kinds of feels, none of which in a good way. And I think people are going to get really tired of that really fast.
There's a survey out from Signal. 60% of self-identified liberal white women between the ages of 18 to 44 agree with the statement that it is acceptable to go beyond peaceful protest and break the law in response to ICE enforcement.
Well, and I have two things on that. First of all, male actions inevitably bring male consequences, which is something none of these women know. They should know it instinctively, but they don't. Which is, I guess, maybe a sort of a nice commentary on American society and how safe it is. But then the second thing is they need to go read their Gandhi and they need to go read their Martin Luther King, because nonviolent resistance means when you've irritated the police and they decide to arrest you, you go peacefully. Right? That is a principle of nonviolent resistance. You do not resist arrest because then it becomes violent resistance. So
Right.
when this woman hit the gas trying to leave, like, she's doing it wrong. And I'm pretty sure that these communist radicals who are doing all the training of, the yoga class or the charter school moms, are not operating from the well-worn playbook that we've all kind of come to know and love. This is about a violent revolution, and it's about trying to get the cops to do things that inflame the public against the cops, and it's not working, by the way.
And then there's this aspect of the fraud, since we're in an election year. Macomb County, Michigan. The county clerk in Macomb County, Michigan, put out a press release saying over the past 4 months, 239 illegal aliens were found in his county's jury pool. So not only do we have illegal immigrants in this country in places like suburban Chicago and Hanover Park serving as law enforcement officers until they're found out to be here illegally, although that's still pending. We have the possibility of illegal immigrants sitting on juries and rendering judgment on American citizens. That seems problematic. In addition, if they're in the jury pool, then they're also on the voter rolls, and that's what I was really getting to. Because of a suit, I mean, I know the federal government has sued about a dozen states over cleaning their voter rolls. So is Judicial Watch. Now, Oregon, the Secretary of State there, Tobias Reed, has been compelled by a court to clean his voter rolls, which could result in the cancellation of as many as 800,000 registrations. And in Pasco, Washington, we have this story.
Filling out and submitting ballots from her former tenants.
In Franklin County, an apartment manager with access to ballots from former tenants allegedly abusing the system. This confirmed by Detective Andrew Gardner in his investigation.
I was able to identify several other ballots that look to be look to have characteristics on the signature line that were not consistent with the signatures on file.
Investigators say 4 ballots were illegally submitted, with 3 being counted in the 2024 general election. The outlier was rejected because of a mismatched signature.
This case is still open, and we are still collecting information from community members that may have been affected by this.
According to the sheriff's office, the woman admitted to voting all 4 ballots and forging the signatures. She was booked into Franklin County Jail for 12 felony charges related to...
And not for nothing, Scott, but her name is Esperanza Contreras.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry about Esperanza's legal troubles.
And the larger
Even
point
though
Uh,
about
they're self-generated.
yes, and admitted, but confessed to, but Franklin County, Washington, the situation in Oregon, the DOJ suits against states, including Illinois, not properly maintaining the integrity of their voter rolls. The story about the jury pool in Macomb County, Michigan. I mean, you want to talk about another aspect of the fraud that is systemic with the open borders consequences.
Well, and we've got a Spectacle podcast segment that went up this morning talking about that Oregon lawsuit that Judicial Watch filed. I mean, you're talking about 20% of the voter registrations in Oregon are like dead people and folks who've moved away, because they haven't cleaned the voter rolls since 2017. And, so you'll know, dirty voter rolls is how all of this happens. Okay. When you have excess lines on the voter file that you can vote, is particularly in a state where they do a lot of mail-in balloting, like, that's where it is, because what you don't get is somebody showing up on election day to vote, and then they've already voted, right? Like when you know that somebody is dead or that they've moved away and you can vote that line, you're not going to get caught. And so all of these states that do mail-in balloting and then keep dirty voter rolls, it's been probably a decade or two since they've had an election that you can certifiably say was honest. And all of these states, Oregon, people think, oh, Oregon's as blue as they come. Democrats win Oregon like 53-47 every year in a federal, like that they're definitely within the margin of fraud in Oregon. And that's why like 2/3 of that state geographically wants to join Idaho, because they've had enough. You know, they steal this thing in Portland like every cycle, and the people in places like Bend and Corvallis and whatever, like, we're done. We've had enough of this. Like, we're being denied our, democracy here. And the Democrats have been doing this for a very long time. They've gotten really good at it, and nobody has stopped them. Maybe now we'll finally have some movement on that.
Scott McKay is the publisher of The Hayride, thehayride.com, senior editor at The American Spectator, and author of the brand new novel Blockbusters, which is available at Amazon. Scott, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. See you soon.
Good to have you back. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it steals your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about, as I'm sure you have. If joint pain is holding you back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause, but you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who've been through the treatment. There are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing, life-improving results. January is supposed to be your clean slate month, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more and tell them Dan Proft sent you. When you do, that's me. Call 312-827-6261. Again, 312-827-6261. Stop the pain by calling QC Kinetics at 312-827-6261.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked wanted us to commit to 10 hours a week. It was more care than he needed, and it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Only 4 minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments, and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care. Only better.
So right now may be the perfect time for you to rethink how you pay for health care. And here's why. This time of year is decision time for a lot of people, but it's also when you can join Medi-Share and save even more than usual. For many families, joining Medi-Share means saving about $500 a month, which is a game changer for a lot of people. More than 1 million people are now part of healthcare sharing because it just makes so much sense, especially right now. And Medi-Share is the gold standard. Members like it a lot. We know this from member surveys. Medi-Share has been around for over 30 years. It is a proven thing. And if you join before January 15th and you mention the promo code SHARE, they'll waive your application fee, so you save $100 right off the bat. I'll give you the number here in a second, but just call. You'll get a price within 2 minutes. And again, the deadline is January 15th. So call now. You'll save even more. Here's the number. Call 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. 844-41-BIBLE.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
Good text here from 815 responding to the conversation we had earlier in the program with Steve Moore and affordability anxieties and the strength of the economy and wage growth versus inflation. But there's a kicker, particularly in blue states, that we didn't fold in that we should. Anyway, this text from 815, 32-year-old here. Wife stays at home to take care of our 3 kids, and childcare would be $1,800 a week. I make $120K a year. Steve, he's talking about Steve Moore, is the perfect example of a boomer. Millennials and young people in general can't afford houses or to raise a family on even a low 6-figure income. And the fact he can't even admit that Biden made this things completely out of reach just shows how out of touch boomers really are. Apartment rents are outrageous. Groceries went up realistically at least 60% under Biden. Everything else is still way more expensive than it was 5 years ago. And he thinks that 1/4 of GDP and wage growth outpacing inflation mean that all of a sudden people are like, oh, wow, this is great. Look, I agree with you. I don't necessarily agree with some of Trump's populist prescriptions to address affordability anxieties, but I agree with you that they're real. And when you fold in the rate of increase of property taxes, for example, not to mention all the backdoor pilfering of your pockets by state and local governments in places like Illinois, absolutely. You're making $120,000. You've got 3 kids and the cost of all of that. And you're thinking like I'm upwardly mobile and I'm getting ahead, but I can't save anything. And if I try to reach beyond just the basic necessities, then I have to go into additional debt to do it. I mean, it's the typical people in the middle getting who play by the rules getting squeezed from both sides. That is absolutely still happening, and a macro GDP growth number doesn't address those dynamics at the micro level. I agree, and it's borne out in the polling. So I don't think it's people, generally speaking, denying reality. I think that reality is more complicated than just some of that top-line macro data, and this texter from 815, I think, hits it pretty nicely. All right, coming up at 8:38, our latest installment of Why Dan Proft is Single. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 32 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A woman is recovering after she was shot in the mouth yesterday. According to reports, police were called to the 6700 block of South Crandon Avenue in the South Shore neighborhood where they encountered the victim. She was transported to the University of Chicago Medical Center for treatment. 40-year-old Demetrius Thurman was in court yesterday. Thurman's been charged in the stabbing death of 37-year-old Dominique Polian on the CTA Blue Line over the weekend. According to reports, that attack was caught on CTA surveillance as well as Thurman's own cell phone as he videoed the attack taking place. The victim was transported to Northwestern Memorial Hospital where he was pronounced dead. And the Joliet School District is set to vote on whether or not to fire a custodian who's been charged with child pornography. The suspect, identified as 23-year-old Jeremy Ledesma, has been on leave with the district since October. Officials say the man had passed all required state and FBI criminal background checks before he was hired by the district. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Larry Elder explains the origin of the problem.
What's the original sin here? Refusing to allow ICE to go into jails and prisons, so when these illegal aliens have served their time, they could be deported. Instead, they release them to the community, which means ICE then has to go into the community, with much greater risk, to extract them. Is anybody talking about that? What's the original sin here?
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8924. 800-575-8924. That's 800-575-8924.
Sniffles and sneezes got you down? GoodRx is here to help with big savings on commonly prescribed cold and flu meds. GoodRx is free and easy to use. GoodRx is accepted at all major pharmacies like CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens. Just search your prescription, find a coupon, then show your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx is not insurance, but it works whether you have insurance or not. If you do, GoodRx may beat your copay price. Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com to save today.
The new year means new resolutions, not just for your body, but for your finances as well. Did you know that financial health is directly related to your identity protection? This is why you need LifeLock. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed, or your subscription money back. Resolve to make your identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit LifeLock.com and save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Terms apply.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results, done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Salem News Channel, your go-to source for news and conservative opinion. We reveal how politics hits home, how your family, your freedoms, your way of life are debated, challenged, even regulated. Every day we cut through the noise, pitting nonsense against common sense. On every screen, in every home, Salem News Channel is across America.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Northbound Lakeshore Drive hitting those brakes from Foster Avenue to Hollywood Avenue. 55 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from the Tri-State to Lakeshore. Outbound is 44. The Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 54 minutes. Outbound is 19. The express lanes are jammed into the Stevenson, but it's over an hour inbound on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 46. 50 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 37. And it is just jam-packed on the express lanes inbound between Montrose Avenue and Diversey Avenue. The Eden slows down from Lake Hook to Montrose, 28 minutes. Outbound is 44. This report is a service of Back to School America. This holiday season, help Back to School America make an impact on teachers who give it their all. Your donation will empower teachers and inspire students. Give today at b2sa.org. That's B2sa.org. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today, expect low clouds and breezy conditions, significantly colder with a snow shower. The snow may reduce visibility and create slippery spots, causing travel delays. The high will reach 28 degrees. Tonight will be cloudy and breezy, even colder with a flurry expected, reaching a low of 15 degrees. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Time now for another reason why Dan Proft is single.
All right, let's huddle up. Before we do get to the sum and substance of this, since it is my 11th anniversary, I just found out from my regional vice president, 11th anniversary on AM 560. I'll do what I normally don't do, which is read a complimentary text. Perhaps because I don't get very many of them. Anyway, text from 708. Always excellent shows. Very much appreciated. This morning's guests and topics have been exceptional. Your segments and the perspective you provide is immeasurable value. So thankful to have you on the airwaves and look forward to listening every morning. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Dad. Okay. I've been amassing some examples because there are, multiple categories, many examples that speak to reasons why Dan Proft is single, talking about myself in the third person. They're the obvious ones that we see on display with the professional agitators trying to impede ICE enforcement operations in big city America. People like this, channeling their hatred of men. Hatred's such a powerful tool.
One thing that hating men has trained me for is literally trained me for chasing ICE cars off of my street. 5 of them right now. Following them down the neighborhood, honking, blowing whistles, telling them to off. All that rage that I have felt towards men is coming out. I have been trained for this moment, bitch. I will follow you everywhere.
She sounds like a nice lady. And then there's this sort of focus on privileges, what everybody deserves, everybody's sort of invented rights. And it's not just the actual people that are lodging these grievances. It's the people like that awful you just heard from rallying to the defense of people like this crew that is helping to distill the levels of privilege associated with the heftier among us. You talk about combating what you don't, I don't, but people talk about conferring victim status, conferring special protected class. We were talking about the context of a case before the Supreme Court with boys who want to play girls' sports. Well, we've talked about this a lot over the years, intermittently. People who are heavier demanding that society comport to their size. And now they're breaking it down. Because not all big-boned individuals are similarly big-boned. So there are levels of privilege even among the Zoftig. And thankfully we have the internet to help us learn help us learn to be better people.
Good question. Can you tell me what category of fat I fit in?
So it's based on your shirt size. So if you are a 1 or 2X, you are small fat. 3 to 4X, you are mid fat. 5 to 6X, you are super fat. Is based on what level of privilege you have in the world. So someone in a small fat category may not struggle getting on an airplane, but someone in a mid fat or super fat may not be able to use even the airplane extender. So that's where that comes in, and like the privilege levels of like what fat means to different people.
Right. Small fat, mid fat, super fat. Okay, so keep that in mind. You don't just herd everybody into the same stable, as it were. Okay. But here's a more serious commentary that is in circulation online. I can't identify the individual. I think it's one of these sort of dating advisors. But this is some pretty over-the-target commentary from my perspective, just one man's perspective. A woman on women who say they just want a good man.
All women say they want a good man until they actually meet one and realize they're not equipped to handle him. A good man is not convenient.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't bend to accommodate chaos. He doesn't rearrange his values because you're emotional.
Right.
A real good man has discipline, boundaries, and priorities that don't shift based on your mood. And this is where women get confused. When you've never met emotional maturity, you misread everything. You call him cold because he won't tolerate drama. You call him selfish because he protects his peace. You label him detached because he refuses to beg for your approval. But that's not coldness. That is self-respect. A man who knows his worth doesn't move from insecurity. He moves from conviction. Good men don't chase drama.
Yeah.
They don't chase chaos.
Yeah.
And they sure as hell don't chase women who weaponize emotion. They build, they lead, they create order. Most women aren't ready for the responsibility that comes with a stable man, because stability doesn't feed your need for emotional roller coasters. It doesn't scratch that itch for unpredictable validation. For women raised in dysfunction, peace feels boring until you lose it. A good man requires partnership, respect, and a woman who's emotionally regulated, not reactive, not reckless. Stay solid. Good men don't bend, they build. And the right woman rises to meet him.
312-642-5600. That's our call-in and text line if you want to comment on those comments. I've only played that clip to, at a personal level in the privacy of my own home about 1,000 times. So many good phrases there, too. I'm not cold. I'm not detached. I'm not unemotional. I'm just stable. And stability is something that is foreign to perhaps the existence. Is that Jada Pinkett Smith? It is not Jada Pinkett Smith. It does sort of sound like her, but it does. No, it's not. It's not. That's in terms of the woman who said that. No, but I mean, a lot of good phrases. The sort of the unpredictable, the need for unpredictable validation. Oh boy, I want to hear just a little bit of that again, and I'm sure some of my friends similarly situated listening might as well, just to really internalize it.
All women say they want a good man until they actually meet one and realize they're not equipped to handle him. A good man is not convenient. He doesn't bend to accommodate chaos. He doesn't rearrange his values because you're emotional.
Right.
A real good man has discipline, boundaries, and priorities that don't shift based on your mood. And this is where women get confused. When you've never met emotional maturity, you misread everything. You call him cold because he won't tolerate drama. You call him selfish because he protects his peace. You label him detached because he refuses to beg for your approval. But that's not coldness. That is self-respect. A man who knows his worth doesn't move from insecurity. He moves from conviction. Good men don't chase drama. They don't chase chaos. And they sure as hell don't chase women who weaponize emotion. They build, they lead, they create order. Most women aren't ready.
Yeah, that's Boy, I mean, I want to have fun with it, but there is so much to that speaks to me. When guys say, just leave me alone, or guys hide out at their golf club or some other space, and when they're with other guys, please stay for another drink, I don't want to go home. This is what they're referencing. 100%. This is what they're referencing. I don't want to be tossed in whatever the melodrama du jour is, or be have someone tugging on my shirt tail for redundant approvals. I don't want to be sawing sawdust over a argument that is instigated, that is very similar to an argument we had 3 hours ago, 3 days ago, 3 weeks ago, and all of that poured over again and again and again. Does that sound familiar? The leave me alone isn't because I don't want to be around you. I don't want to be around you in when you're behaving this way, in an unstable, emotional, melodramatic, petulant, validation-seeking kind of way. That's what leave me alone usually means, so I've heard. Robin in Tony, Alabama, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
What that woman said, and that is why whenever you play one of these segments about why you're not married, I think that's why Robin does not have a lot of female friends. From very early age, I did not understand the rules, those emotional rules that you have to play by, which is all transactional, that you're not my friend because you talk to this one. You know what? Give me a guy who is stable, that we can have a conversation with no drama. That's the quintessential perfect ideal. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Robin. And how about the woman who tries to insinuate herself into everything? The woman who is the parole officer requiring check-ins and a detailed accounting of what you have been doing since the last time you checked in. That's what that woman providing that distillation of what how men are receiving that is explaining. That's some good stuff. Dan Proft, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The most beautiful time of year is upon us. Tax season. And Tax Slayer is here to help you file with 100% accuracy for your maximum refund. Guaranteed. Tax Slayer even has support from real U.S.-based humans if you have any questions along the way. File your federal return by February 8th for $22.99, and I'll help you get the refund you deserve. Take it from me, a talking calculator speaking to you through the speakers of wherever you are. Tax Slayer. File fearlessly.
Welcome to the most wonderful time of the year, when millions of Americans open their credit card statements, scream in terror, and start looking for new ways to save money. If that's you, why not cut your wireless bill in half with a saver plan from Pure Talk? You'll get unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on a super fast 5G network for just $20 a month. Ho, ho, ho. Just dial pound 250, say micro, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month.
Paul in New Lenox, here in Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, great show, Dan. There was a movie back in 2009 called The Ugly Truth with Gerard Butler and Katherine Heigl, where he was a radio host, and so many people were drawn to him because of what he was saying. You could play that part in Ugly Truth Part 2. Great show. I wish you could repeat this at about 10:30 when my wife wakes up.
Thanks for the call, Paul. Yes, we try not to do the beautiful lies. You get that everywhere else. The Ugly Truth. I never saw that. Now I'm going to have to. Okay. All right. Boy, I'm still enjoying that. Let me tell you about a proud new sponsor of Chicago's Morning Answer, Access One IT Services and Support. Chicago business owners, listen up. Your phone, internet, and IT should work well 24/7. When it doesn't, who are you calling? An overseas help desk? Don't do that. If you want clear, reliable local experts, consider Chicago's best, Access One. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for more than 30 years from their headquarters in the West Loop. Whether it's voice over IP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One has you covered. Access One is Chicago-owned, Chicago-run, and serves thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore and everywhere in between. Access One is rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and trusted by law firms, clinics, tech startups, manufacturers, and many other businesses. So if you're in business, make sure your IT works well every day. Start a conversation about your business needs today. Call Access One at 1-800-654-1555. That's 800-654-1555. Or visit access1inc.com. That's access, the number one spelled out, access1, O-N-E, access1inc.com. And tell me if AM560 sent you when you do. Listen, I'm going to be straight with you. Pain doesn't just hurt your body, it cripples your life. I know this because I've seen it with people I care about. If joint pain is holding you back, start the new year by doing something different. There's a way to get real relief without surgery and without putting your life on pause. But you have to take that first step and contact my friends at QC Kinetics. They provide regenerative treatments that help your body repair the areas that are causing pain. I've talked to people who've been through this. These are real results. Achy knees, hips, shoulders, wherever it hurts, instead of facing surgery that sidelines you for months, QC Kinetics treatments happen in the office. Simple procedures that deliver big, life-changing results. January is supposed to be your clean slate month, so make it one. Stop managing the pain and start solving it. Call now to learn more and tell them Dan Proft, that's me, sent you when you do. The number 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Call QC Kinetics to start the year right. 312-827-6261.
The vaccines have failed. While the virus continues to mutate and bypass every shot they give you, the establishment is left with no answers. You're being left defenseless against a changing enemy. But the cavalry has arrived. When the system fails, nature and science unite to rescue your immune system. It's time to stop chasing mutations and start blocking them. I'm Dr. Michael Huber, introducing Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. We've combined 23 high-potency natural ingredients into one synergistic strike. We are hitting the virus from every angle. Don't be a victim of ineffective science. Get the 23-ingredient shield that actually works. Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail.
Order your bottle of Virago online today. Visit myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30% at checkout. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Virago and Maha, making America healthy again.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-682-3311. That's 800-682-3311. 800-682-3311.
AM 560, The Answer.
You want to hear 2-year-old Maggie from Geneva again singing the Bears fight song? Of course you do.
No, Chicago Bears, and get to know why you're wearing the crown. You're the pride and joy of Illinois. Chicago Bears, bear down.
All right. I think Maggie should have a place in the owner's booth this weekend. It's now 9 o'clock, AM 560 WIND.
Thanks, but no thanks.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark may tell Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio at a meeting this hour in Washington. They don't want the U.S. to take over the Danish territory, but President Trump keeps insisting. In a Truth Social post, Fox's Chris Foster reads,
NATO becomes far more formidable and effective with Greenland